where content has no shape. And Lucy's tight box comes in first. Lucy does dabble, Lucy does Dabbleverse, she does dabble, Lucy does Dabbleverse, Lucy does Dabbleverse. Lucy tight box brings the facts, and she breaks them down for us. Lucy does Dabbleverse. La la la, Lucy has a tight box and she shares it with dabblers. No, not like that, but she does this show for us. Lucy does dabble, Lucy does Dabbleverse, 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 yes she does, yes she do it, yeah, Lucy does Dabbleverse, yes she does, Lucy does Dabbleverse. Lucy does Dabbleverse, she does. Lucy does Dabbleverse, she does. Lucy does Dabbleverse.
Hello, dabblers, and welcome to yet another Lucy Does Dabbleverse. We are here today to talk about the absolutely incredible LOLsuit. And I could not do that without my wonderful, wonderful guests. Today I have with me Anthony Zenhauser and Adam Busch. Thank you both so much for joining me. I'm so excited.
Fantastic.
Very happy to be here.
Adam's very happy to be here.
That's what I said. You heard me say it. That's what I said.
Yeah, I heard you talking to the mic this time. I heard you.
Jeez, it gets around.
He doesn't know how to do that. You can't be mean to him about that. That's only
one
Karl's
time because
job.
we weren't in the headphones. So I couldn't.
I recall it being 2 days in a row, actually.
That might be right.
That might be right. So yes, of course, we are here today. We are going to be talking all about the incredibly crazy LOLsuit that was filed on August 7th, 2025 by Stuttering John Melendez through his attorney, Tabor Benedict. I can't even say his name. He doesn't know how to spell it. I don't know how to say it. And he filed this lawsuit against Karl Heberger and Shuli Egar. And he is claiming that his name and likeness and even his discarded trash items were used without his permission, which is not okay with him. It was in order to profit off his fame. And we're going to be talking all about the craziest aspects of this lawsuit today because there are a lot of crazy things going on here. I almost don't know where to begin with this. So the lawsuit kind of follows the idea of New York civil rights law sections 50 and 51, which establish a right to privacy. The entire point of this is that you shouldn't use a person's name, their portrait, their voice for advertising purposes without their consent. And that makes sense. I think we can all kind of agree that that is a logical thing that would be pretty uncool to do to somebody. Right?
I agree with that. Sure. I would never do it.
I think that's reasonable. Adam, how do you kind of feel about this? Because obviously sometimes people in all of the universes that we participate in, sometimes people might use your face as a meme, or they might do this, or they might do that. What's your kind of like baseline when it comes to these sorts of claims?
Well, I mean, the Screen Actors Guild is always finding ways around having to pay actors for their likeness in certain things, depending on what they're using it for. I remember there was a promo for a Kelsey Grammer sitcom, and it was like the first episode, and it was about, he was a newscaster, and I had like one line in this episode, and it was, "He's here," and they used that to like be the promo. "He's here, Kelsey Grammer." So I saw myself saying that everywhere on every computer screen. It was the pop-up. I didn't get a dime for that outside of the original fee just for that day. So it does happen. What I'm curious about is all of these things that John is complaining about are the things that are like the trappings of big celebrities, like Liberace or Michael Jackson. They go through your trash. They analyze it. They sell it. I mean, there's books about Bob Dylan's trash. A guy who had this repeated habit of going through Bob Dylan's trash and writing about it. Like, this is what happens. He knows this. Is it illegal to be a fan of someone and to keep track of them, which way the guitar player goes, and then where the bus goes, and then where the hotel stays, calling the hotel? This is what happens. And it's happened to him his whole life. It's only recently that it's been, a suable offense for him.
Yeah, I guess the question always is, where does the line get drawn? And I think that one of the biggest cases that related to the sections 50 and 51 sorts of law, the right of publicity sorts of law, was the Carmen Electra case, where Carmen Electra sued a gentleman's club because they used her likeness on a billboard, which made it seem like she was going to be performing there. And she was like, well, that doesn't make any sense. I was never going to be there. Why the heck are you using me? She ended up losing that lawsuit because of statute of limitations. Oh. But I think she had some legitimate claims within it. It was an interesting lawsuit. And despite the fact that I think that this particular lawsuit where Stuttering John is suing Karl and Shuli is bullshit, I still think that there are interesting aspects of it. However, today, again, we are not talking about any of the interesting aspects of it. We're talking about all of the crazy, crazy stuff, because John's team, him and his attorney, Tabor Benedict, and his other attorney, Susser, and now apparently Vince, the lawyer, who has just said that he is kind of funding this lawsuit. All of these people, I know he did. Crazy. We're going to listen to the clip later. It's going to be great. They're making these claims, but they are then amending the claims and then opposing the claims and then re-amending and then opposing the opposition to the amendment. And they're kind of just going wacky every single step of the way. And we haven't really dug into all of that insanity of this Slaven drunkenly mess of a lawsuit.
Right. This is a Lucy Does Dabbleverse blooper reel.
Yes. And I like that idea, because then everything that I make a mistake on, it was on purpose for the blooper reel.
It's a flub.
Yeah. You got it. These are going to be the flubs. Absolutely. And we cannot start out talking about this lawsuit without talking about the stupidity of the first document that gets filed in this lawsuit, which of course is going to be the summons and complaint. So a summons and complaint is a document that gets filed in every single lawsuit. It is where the plaintiff is going to outline all of their allegations against the defendant. So this is going to be where we're saying, so-and-so did such and such to me. And I think that the complaint has some really interesting things within it. So we're going to talk about a few of those. I think there are some missteps just from this first page of the summons and complaint. Now, you might notice that I have highlighted in green here on this little screen capture. This is what the complaint looks like. And I have highlighted the defendants. So the defendants in this lawsuit are Karl, Shuli, Who Are These Podcasts, and the Shuli Network. And I have made it very, very clear that I think that there should have been more defendants within this lawsuit. And the reason that I think that is because anytime that you are creating a lawsuit, you need to sue all of the interested parties within that action. Now, I think that the plaintiff and plaintiff's counsel probably agree with me, because later in the lawsuit, they will in fact try to add another defendant. But I believe that pretty much everybody, and again, I'm not an attorney. None of us are attorneys here today. We don't have any attorneys representing to figure everything out. But I believe that anytime that you are creating a lawsuit, you should be talking about every single person who was involved in an event. And so that would mean me. That would mean Zen. That would mean Adam, sort of, because you did some Dabble House stuff. That would mean all of the people who participated in the events that are in question. So I think that that is blatantly wrong. Maybe I'm blatantly wrong about that.
I agree. I think more people should be included as defendants. It's hard to get the name Piss Whistle on a legal document, but why stop at just us? Why not go for the entire Dabbleverse? Because everybody is going after John, right?
We already have shitware in this lawsuit. We're not allowed to have any other inappropriate names. So, AKA. Adam, I don't know, what is kind of your background in understanding these sorts of legal documents? Do you have any sort of feelings about how this was just created off the bat?
Well, my feelings are that it really mirrors his other lawsuit where,
Yes.
and I think legal minds see through this. He's not like, this thing happened and I demand, to be paid for it, or I suffered this injustice, we must right this. It always has a what do you got attitude to it. Like, we're just spreading real wide and waiting for you to fill in how Sirius stole money from John. You tell us. And that doesn't quite work. And here it's like anything possible to as many people as possible. That never looks good. We're trying to right wrongs and fix things. We're not trying to just get a payday. And that's what this all initially smacks of.
I think that you're completely right. And I think you're hitting on something that is going to be a theme of this episode, which is this lawsuit truly is about hurt feelings. Every single one of the topics that we're going to be talking about tonight relating to the irrelevancy of the facts of this case is about, I'm sad because this happened to me and I don't like it and it's really upsetting. And that is a crazy reason to sue somebody.
Well, think about this. You could take all of these specific things that you listed in the beginning and just spin it as they don't hate him, but they love him. They're not stealing his couch to make fun of it. They're stealing his couch because they want to hump it. They're like, they want this stuff. They love him. All of a sudden, it's all the same waking up his mother at 2 a.m., but instead of making fart noises, they're saying, we love you, John. It's the same thing, but he wouldn't sue if it was the other way.
He wouldn't. And we all know John's kind of MO with everything, which is first blood is his big thing right now. But in addition to that, it's everybody is coming at me instead of just turning it into comedy. If it had just turned into comedy, none of this would have happened. Now, the other thing that is obviously very upfront in this summons and complaint is going to be the county that we are suing in here. Now, we've discussed this ad nauseum. However, I have not gone into great detail about why the New York County thing is so incredibly bizarre. So we're going to start looking at that. So this lawsuit, Stuttering John filed it within New York County, and New York County is Manhattan, which is about 5.5-ish hours of a drive away from Rochester, New York, where some of the main events relating to this lawsuit took place, as well as where Karl, one of the defendants, lives. And the reason that Stuttering John and his attorney Tabber have said that they are filing this in New York County in Manhattan, 5.5 hours away from the events of the lawsuit, is because New York City is effectively the epicenter of Hollywood. That makes no sense whatsoever. First of all, Hollywood is Hollywood. Now, what I've pulled up here on the screen is Danny, who is the attorney for Karl and Shuli's response to this. So he is saying, you've said that we're going to handle this in New York City. That doesn't make any sense because no party resides, in Manhattan in New York County. No party resides in New York County. And in addition to that, Melendez is a citizen of Florida. And in addition to that, the only defendant that actually resides in the state of New York is Karl, who is in Monroe County. So why in the heck are we venuing this 300 miles away?
Yeah, if anything,
why is that happening?
He should have did it in Florida because there's a Hollywood, Florida. Did you know that?
He would have had a better chance there, I'll tell you what.
It makes more sense that way. Yeah, that's a
way
weird
more
thing.
sense that way.
I think he's trying to, this is their way of tying in Kate Meany, right? This is their way of tying in the fact that Kate Meany lived in New York City at the time, and she was the one that recorded him, and therefore she is attached to this lawsuit in some informal way, which also doesn't make any sense.
So that's a really interesting point. They didn't try to tie in Kate Meany until after this.
Right.
And so I think that any sort of tying in the New York County thing is scrambling. This is saying, I just got caught in my dumb stupidity, and now I need an excuse for it. And my excuse, it's Kate Meany. I'm going to throw her right in here. She lives in New York County. She's in Manhattan. This might make sense. That is their only saving grace at this point. John's argument about why they are saying that this is going to be in New York City is because a significant portion of the audience who consumed this content was based in New York City. Now, that's completely crazy to me because I don't think that there's any known statistics. There might be behind the scenes statistics, but I don't think that there are any known statistics about what percentage of people listen to Who Are These Podcasts and the Shuli network.
That is so crazy.
Way.
John thinks they're going to be pulling a jury, and he wants it to be of Howard Stern fans that know him.
That is exactly, you are exactly 100% correct. And what he argues is that this is where all my opportunities were. At one point, he even says something to the effect of, this is where everybody knows who I am.
Kumia country.
Kumia country, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It's where it's centered. Of course, this is where everybody is listening. Now, there's a couple of things about this. One, that's not where it's centered. Two, the epicenter of Hollywood, of show business, is absolutely not New York City. I cannot stress that enough. And Adam, you can back me up on this. Zen, I think you can back me up on this. Danny, in his paperwork, actually details a whole bunch of articles and legitimate citations where he describes that, one, California is still the epicenter of Hollywood. And two, if there are any other places other than Hollywood, California, that have been emerging in recent years, they are Georgia and Louisiana.
Yeah, it's true.
Why are we in New York City?
Because John is making a run for the Great White Way. He's coming to Broadway.
Oh my God, it's going to be amazing. Can you not wait? It's going to be so
He's been talking about his
good.
one-man show for a long time. This is going to be it.
It's gonna be hard when he goes to trial and the lawyers are, they're questioning the witnesses to see if they'll make adequate. Questioning the jurors to make sure they're going to be okay for the trial. And all the jurors are going baba booey, baba booey. He's like, I can't use you. I can't use you. Howard Stern's penis. I can't use you.
Completely not appropriate. Yeah. So John actually says within his paperwork through his attorney that he, quote, that this is the proper venue, that Manhattan is the proper venue because he, quote, achieved his notoriety as a member of the Manhattan-based Howard Stern radio show. So exactly what you were just saying, Adam. This is where his home base is, not where anybody else's home base is. I don't understand how somebody could possibly be so stupid as to file a lawsuit in that manner. If you and I get into a car crash right now in Rochester, I'm not going to just randomly be like, well, I'm about to go vacation in California, so I think I'll see you in California because that'll be convenient for my vacation.
Right.
That's what this reads to me.
I mean, listen, if you get a speeding ticket in Monroe County, Rochester, I can't go to court in New York City. I have to go back to Monroe County to the Rochester court in order to fight it. It's pretty rudimentary. Like any sort of offense that you do legally, it's usually in that jurisdiction that you got the offense.
Yeah, you need to make sure that you are in the correct venue. And that has been one of the major arguments that Danny, the attorney for Karl and Shuli, has been making in this lawsuit. He is saying this is the incorrect venue. We should not have been in Manhattan in any way, shape, or form. We should have been in Monroe County, where one of the defendants resides, Karl, and two, where one of the events took place. There is no reason for us to be anywhere other than that. I do think
totally
though.
agree.
Yeah.
I think that my favorite argument that Danny makes against the venue being incorrect. So at one point, John alleges that he has lots of opportunities to live and work in, New York County and Manhattan. And he's like, I really want to have those opportunities. And Danny responds to that by saying, well, plaintiff's last film credit was 17 years ago for a movie called One Too Many, a movie about a randy bachelor who searches for a woman who has an interest in group sex. And his most recent television opportunity was working for the Tonight Show in 2014. So a long dang time ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has no basis.
And his
No
current gig can be done anywhere.
It's true. So what's his current gig?
Live streaming.
Oh, yeah, it's true. And
He just joined
obviously
Central
stand-up
Casting
comedy
in New York.
shows.
And stand-up comedy shows as well, right? He just joined Central Casting in New York, so he's going to be doing a lot of extra work. And I think that's pretty much where he's going with that right now. I think he's going to make a move. Well, he knows that at some point he has to move in with his mom again in Long Island. So he might be just preparing himself for that.
Yeah, you think so?
I think he thinks of these lawsuits as like something like him and Aaron both confuse this with like something good in the news. They think having his name out there is a positive for him and a negative for all the people in it. He thinks they took a hit just for having it been there, and he thinks this is like an accomplishment. Sometimes when he lists his credits, he'll mention the SiriusXM lawsuit like he did something, like he won something because it was in the news. He thinks anytime you make national news, it's a win, and that might be another reason why he wants it in New York so they all see it.
I think you're onto something, Adam. And I also feel like the fact that he won that court case against Sharon Stone that one time.
He didn't win. They just settled and gave him some money to shut the fuck up.
It's a win for him. It's a win. He made money.
It wasn't a loss. It's not a loss. We are the champions.
He made like what, $30,000 off of that lawsuit. So to him, that's, again, I said it on other shows, it's his way of slipping in a supermarket. He found a golden ticket, and that's he gets very litigious now and talks about it constantly in the last 20 years.
To him, that's like, I don't know, what, 5,000 cases of beer? So he's doing great. He's doing absolutely wonderful from that.
That's 5 packs.
I think that the SiriusXM lawsuit is such a huge part of the missteps in this LOLsuit. 100%. And we are going to get into that SiriusXM lawsuit so much because that really truly does mirror exactly what is going on here. So we are going to get into that a little bit later. But before we move on to that aspect, I want to talk just a little bit more about this complaint and then what happens shortly after the complaint, which is that just 5 days after the complaint is filed, Stuttering John's attorney, Tabber Benedict, amends the complaint. Now, an amendment to a complaint is something that you're allowed to do one time. It's kind of like a whoopsie. You're like, oopsie, I accidentally said the wrong word here and I want to fix it and I want to change this thing. As long as it's not like a major change. So Tabber ended up filing an amended complaint just 5 days after the initial complaint was filed. And the reason that he did that, of course, was because he spelled his own name wrong.
Better do it.
In all fairness, I think Tabber is still drinking. That's my theory.
He says he's sober.
Well, you know.
I believe everybody. I believe everybody.
He does beer math, just like John. And at some point, he was probably doing beer math when he wrote that first legal document.
It's entirely possible. So what I've highlighted here, obviously, you can see in red where he has spelled his own name wrong. All of the green places are where he has spelled his own name correctly. I think it's interesting to spell your own name wrong on a signature line in particular, because that's literally your signature. Most of the time when you do an electronic signature, it's like saved in a document, which means who knows how long he had this misspelled, right?
Does he have to
tablet? Yeah.
Does he have to fix that because it's not legally binding, or does anybody care?
So I don't think that anybody would have cared.
Why would he?
Is my answer to that. And the reason that I don't think that anybody would have cared, I have a little slide for later also. He also forgot to sign a couple of documents later in the lawsuit. Like he just whoopsies didn't sign this one. So I definitely think that this is the type of thing. I don't think this is the most uncommon mistake in the whole world. Typographical errors happen within legal documents all the time. That is a normal thing that I see. While I work as a paralegal, I see this sort of thing all the time. Not usually with somebody's own name, because, you know, you type your name a lot. You're pretty familiar with how your fingers feel as you're typing it. But it happened here. What I really want to do right now is I want to take credit for him amending the complaint at this point. And I'm a little bit proud of this. So when I first saw the LOLsuit, the first thing that I noticed was his misspelling of his name, and I texted everybody. I was sending messages to every single person that I knew. I was like, "Oh my god, his attorney spelled his name wrong. That's hilarious. That's like one of the funniest things I've ever seen because it's so stupid." And so when I did my first Lucy Does Dabbleverse focused on this LOLsuit, that was August 11th, and I talked about the misspelling of this name. And then on August 12th is when Tabber filed his amended complaint, and I'm taking full fucking credit for that, which is probably not correct, but it does end up screwing him pretty badly in the future because, again, you're only allowed to have this like one whoopsie amendment, and he is going to end up needing a second amendment in the future. So we have already had the initial complaint, the amended complaint, and in several documents from now, Tabber is going to be requesting for a second amended complaint, which is going to try to add Kate Meany to the case. So I'm very proud of that. Again,
well done.
Probably not me. But
I feel like when I think more about Tabber, I feel like it's just Vince going to one of his old friends, going, "Hey, buddy, you want to fuck with this dude? You feel like you want to break some guy's balls at me? You want to join me in some fun?" The guy's like, "Yeah, sure. I'm not doing nothing. You know,
I just can't use my own name. Give me like a stupid name.
Yeah. Can I misspell everything? Is that cool? Can I fuck with the first legal document? Yeah, go. I don't give a shit. I'm flipping the bill for everything, so don't worry about it. You know, just do whatever you want to do." Is John gonna read it and be pissed? John's not gonna read shit. Don't worry about it. He's not gonna read anything.
I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of papers in this. I got to be honest. If I were Karl and Shuli and I weren't covering this on Lucy Does Dabbleverse, I would not have read all these papers. Like, I don't know if Karl and Shuli are reading all of them. I wouldn't do it. There's a lot of friggin' papers.
Sure, but this is like that first page of like it's like misspelling your name on the SATs. It's an automatic fail, right?
It's embarrassing, and that's what I think happened with Tabber. I think that when people started commenting about the fact that his name was misspelled, he got really embarrassed, and he was like, "Oh my god, I need to fix this immediately. Let me go file something immediately. Holy cow, this is so embarrassing." So the only things that he really corrected within that amended complaint were actually the misspelling of his name, and then he added to the caption, instead of just being Shuli, it was AKA the Shauli, whatever, with the A in it. Right. So those were the only two changes that he made to this amended complaint. There was no reason for him to do that. He could have just taken the hit to his ego and been done with it. But he couldn't do that because he's a Gat's baby from the Hamptons who needs to feel like he's doing all the fancy things. I don't know. I think that he's less in cahoots with John and his team and more just kind of inept.
I think people have an idea. They think they have an idea of what trolling will be like or what bad negative attention will be like. And even lawyers, they think they're prepared. The Dabbleverse is unique and very specific. And I think when it was first announced and people found his Twitter handle, I can't imagine the kind of requests and messages he was getting. But I do remember, if you do as well, he never really acknowledged it, but there was one cryptic, like, "To all the haters who think they can something, like something you'd see on a Karen's wall." It was just one anonymous address to all the people that have been giving him shit, which makes me think, yeah, I bet you're right. When that first came out, he couldn't handle it. And he had to. Just thought he could fix that real fast, and then all that'll go away, because that's how it works. Once you let people know it bothers you, they all leave you alone.
They all leave you alone. That is one of the things I always say this, and I think that all three of us understand this very deeply, and a lot of people understand this. If you can't handle the heat, then you need to get out of the kitchen. There are tons of people who cannot handle hate. That is totally fine. Stop reading it. Stop acknowledging it. If you don't want to be on the internet and you don't want to get hate for it, then stop doing it. Tabber probably should have withdrawn as counsel at that point, because he probably did realize, if I had to guess, he probably realized, holy shit, this is going to be way crazier than I thought it was going to be. Everybody's digging up the fact that I was disbarred. Everybody's reading these old 10-year-old news articles that I had thought were, buried at this point. No, we're pulling New York Post shit from 10 years ago, from 2015. Like, we're all going to look at it and we're all going to make fun of you for it. And that sucks. He probably didn't sign up for that.
Probably, but he should be well aware of his backstory and understand that if he's taking this case because he wants to raise his profile with a celebrity defendant, that there's going to be, you can do some research on what's going on with your defendant and what kind of people he's dealing with. And if he did any of that, he would know for a fact that all these people are fucking animals. No disrespect to the chat, you're all fucking animals, but that's how it works in this business. We're what would you call us? It's not entertainment sports, but it's close.
Assassins.
I would
Right.
call it professional arm wrestling. For sure.
It really is funny how everyone that comes close to John gets like grabbed down into that bucket with him. Like he has this horrible, unique, torturous situation where all of this attention makes him feel terrible. And he wants desperately for every cab driver and everyone he meets to understand it. And now this lawyer has to live through the exact same thing he's going through and be like, this isn't fair, this isn't right. And John's like, I know, I told you, it's all he wanted was someone else in the bucket with him.
I don't think I've ever felt bad for Tabber Benedict ever before until this moment right now. You're right. I think that you're 100% correct about that. He is getting dragged into this. And again, he probably had no idea. He had no idea. No idea.
And it goes right back to what Zen said, that if you don't want any attention at all, stay away. If you only want good attention, stay away.
Yep.
It's all going to come.
But I will say that I think that John's second attorney, Susser, I think he knew what he was getting into. So, Adam, are you familiar with Susser at all?
I'm not.
Okay. So, John, at some point, a notice of appearance was filed within the court paperwork. And what this means is that somebody else is coming on as an attorney. So this means that John actually has two attorneys. Now, Susser has done nothing in the lawsuit yet. He is there in name only. I assume he's probably doing things behind the scenes. But what is particularly interesting about Susser is that he is a stand-up comedian. And I am pretty sure that the reason that he has involved himself in this is because he wants the clout. And when I say he is a stand-up comedian, I mean, the punchline of almost all of his jokes is him going, Susser. So, I mean, that is a very loose term. He's something else.
He was actually the origin for Ira Chuckleberg. I mean, I think a lot of people think Luigi was the reason, but I found that information very humorous. And the fact that, of course, this guy's doing stand-up comedy at night. Why wouldn't he? And why wouldn't John hire another fucking weirdo lawyer, not almost a non-legit lawyer, to help him with this case?
I'll give you one more punchline from his set. I don't want to risk doing things like that because now we all know stand-up comedy sets can be copywritten. But
careful.
I will say one of his big punchlines is also that because he's from New York, he says subpoena instead of subpoena.
Oh,
Badoom.
okay.
It's great. It's
Yeah.
His stand-up comedy is available on YouTube. You can find it. It's something is the word that I want to use for it. So John now has these two attorneys, and that is quite interesting. I think that this leads us into a good place because there has been a revelation over the weekend, which, of course, is that Vince the lawyer called into the Dabbler network during Tukey Soup on Saturday, this past Saturday.
What a sentence.
I know. I am surprised. Did I say it all correctly? Because
It was
entirely
100%
possible
correct,
that
and I can't believe we all knew exactly what it meant.
Whew, okay. So many words. All right. So what happened during this call? Well, Cardiff Electric asked Vince the lawyer a very pointed question. There has been a lot of speculation that perhaps Vince the lawyer is behind some of this. Everything seems so suspicious that it almost seems like one of the admittedly smart works that Vince the lawyer has done. And so this is going to be Cardiff asking him the question that we all want answered.
Question for the counselor.
Yeah.
Counselor, are you funding Stuttering John's legal campaign?
Not directly, but I would.
So I'm going to pause us right there. We'll get a little bit more context shortly, but not directly funding Stuttering John's legal campaign. That means maybe not directly paying Tabber, not directly paying susser, but perhaps finding these individuals, perhaps making connections. It's hard to tell exactly what this is saying. Let's listen to a little bit more here.
I don't know, because now this is a good question. Not directly, but with Dr. Steve and his nefarious actions, I don't know if I should help John out because they call me an evil lawyer. He's clearly an evil doctor for what he did.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe what this guy did. So the answer is not directly.
And JT's an evil mailman.
So, Zen, what do you think that it means to indirectly fund a lawsuit?
I mean, it could be a lot of things. I mean, anybody who super chats John is indirectly funding his lawsuit, right?
That's a great point.
We can bring it to that kind of level.
Yeah.
Could be like what you said. He was finding these people to help John. I think he's trying to keep himself at arm's length from this, but he still can't help himself. He still has to let people know that he's kind of the mastermind behind this whole thing. Yeah, that's now that he's actually admitted that he's in some way involved in helping John.
He's been denying his involvement this whole time.
Right. So that's something. And I think that's what a lot of people assumed in the beginning, that Vince has something to do with this, because ultimately this is a big troll on John. Like, John's in a lot of trouble with this lawsuit, in my opinion. And what better way to troll John and have Karl and Shuli get a lot of that shrapnel in the process?
If this is a troll, it is a very epic and psychotic troll.
Which speaks Vince. I mean, that's his MO, right? Just watching the world burn. That's what this guy likes. Doesn't matter who's involved, what casualties. If he puts Shuli and Karl out of business, it's just another way to get him to troll John and ultimately hurt John.
What I find very sad about that clip is that, Dr. Steve is getting so much hate from the plaintiff's side of this lawsuit. So every time that John goes after him, now Vince going after him very publicly, I think that everybody can agree that Dr. Steve is one of the nicest people on the face of the planet and is only ever trying to help anybody. So it always upsets me. We got to hear in that clip him saying, Dr. Steve is an evil doctor. What basis is that? What basis do you have to say that he's an evil doctor? Because I have never heard him practicing medicine in any way that was evil. I believe that he does palliative care. He is helping people who are at the end of their lives. And he helps tons of people who are in the entertainment industry with free medical advice with all of his expertise. We're extremely fortunate to have him.
Yeah, that's wrestling tactics. It's his promo. He's a heel, and his promo is to spread the word that Dr. Steve is an evil doctor. I'm the evil lawyer. He's the evil doctor.
Yeah.
So how do you like that? There's no basis for any of it. It's just promo and dramatics, and this is why it feels like an epic troll.
Yeah. So Adam, do you have any opinions on a way or any thoughts on a way that somebody could be funding something unofficially?
I think if Vince was directly funding this by personally cutting checks to Tabber, or if he was just, John's number one donor on the chats, he would have that same response when asked. I think he would say that exact same answer no matter what. I don't think we'll ever know. I don't think it really matters because he is his number one source of income. So what's the difference if there's some other bullshit or it's a loan or whatever John did? John thinks just having that lawsuit existing is a win. And I think in terms of Steve, I think he's having a hard time in his brain figuring out why his friend Steve would fund this thing against him. He doesn't understand Steve is a friend of the world. If you are a human being, he's your friend.
Yeah, he didn't understand why Steve wore that T-shirt that one time. It's the exact same thing. It's the same exact story. And I do see somebody right now in the chat saying fingering Rocco's asshole was evil. I wasn't. I totally disagree with that. Fingering
that's-
Rocco's asshole is probably fucking awesome. And it's raising awareness on fucking prostate cancer, which is a serious issue. Men, go get your assholes checked. I don't want to lose dabblers because your assholes aren't getting checked. That has absolutely nothing to do with his medical license. Like, that is a completely insane thing. Dr. Steve is an amazing man who is trying to support everybody.
Yeah, Rocco gave consent pretty clearly, I believe.
Yeah,
I watched him.
Yeah,
there you go.
I saw a million different things coming out of that asshole. He gave consent to everybody. Let me tell you.
I remember the roast at DabbleCon 2 when Dr. Steve did his roast, and he called me a fatty, and I was very offended by that, and it really hurt my feelings. And I was hoping that maybe I can jump on this lawsuit with John.
Hold on.
John,
first things first. Did you call his dad? Call his dad.
I called Dr. Dad. I said, Dr. Dad. This is so stupid. It's just so stupid,
It's
man.
so stupid.
When you think of it, just he hurt my feelings. That's really what it comes down to, right?
It truly is. And again, let's bring ourselves back. So we just talked a little bit about Vince the lawyer's involvement. Let's talk a little bit again. Let's get kind of back on track here as we're talking about the LOLsuit being totally irrelevant to everything. So one of the craziest parts, I think, within the LOLsuit is when Stuttering John, through his attorney Tabor Benedict, cites a reference to Vince the lawyer's channel in the summons and complaint. He quotes a legal commenter in a Supreme Court filing, which is the silliest thing that I have ever heard, because this is a YouTube commentary channel that's getting quoted here. It is not proven to be an authority. It's not a expert witness. It's not real evidence. It's nothing. It makes this entire lawsuit sound like internet feuds as opposed to legal pleadings. So to include this in your court paperwork is bonkers to me. Why would we be doing this? I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know either.
Is this just name dropping? He wants to tie himself into other famous cases and people and celebrities?
So I think that you're exactly right there. And again, now that Vince has admitted that he has some involvement, to what level we don't know, but he has some involvement, I think that this here suggests that in some way his funding might have had to do with the drafting of legal documents. Perhaps his funding was his time. Perhaps he was giving input into how Tabor should create these documents, because it seems very suspicious to argue Vince the lawyer's channel, Lazy Law News Network, in a formal-ish citation when he has not been the authority on any sort of commentary relating to sections 50 and 51, right?
Mm-hmm. That's really
Why
interesting.
are you putting this?
It's a brief ad for his
It's
legal
a plug.
team.
Yes,
Absolutely.
You are 100. He is plugging himself in court filings. That is what he is doing here. And I really haven't talked about that until now, because I think that it is peculiar, and I think we've all had our suspicions about Vince the lawyer's involvement in this case. And if he is involved, that's fine. I just would like him to admit to it, which I suppose he now has sort of done. But here, what we're having is we know that he believes that this is how the case should have been structured. And so not only has he structured the case in a particular way, but in addition to that, he has given himself a literal plug.
Right. And also you're looking at the second line where we're using his voice and his likeness and all that stuff.
Yep.
The voice and image without consent is, he's doing a public podcast. I mean, this is all out there. Like, what are we doing that's using, his voice and his image without his consent? There's no copyright on that.
I mean, there's so much that goes on with copyright law. And obviously, I think that when it comes to right to publicity, one of the biggest things that's going to come into that is, where is the line between privacy and publicity? That's kind of where everything is always going to get led back to, is this newsworthy? Do we get to comment on it? Is it satire? Is it comedy? To what extent do all of those things happen? And I think that this is a classic case where none of the arguments in the complaint make any sense because it's clearly all the other things. It's clearly comedy. It's clearly satire. It's clearly newsworthy. To me, it seems very clear that that's the case. Again, I'm not an attorney, so maybe I'm just a stupid, dumb paralegal that is also a woman who owns a vagina. Like, that could also be the case.
Did you copyright that vagina?
Listen, it's impossible to. I've tried.
People have rights to that vagina then. Like if Adam if they make a meme of Adam doing something on Buffy, right? Like it's like a little flip of him on a scene. Like there's no case for that, right? Like people who made Buffy the Vampire Slayer can't go, well, they can't use that. That's copywritten.
There's an official Buffy comic book that my character plays a major role in. I don't see anything for that. That's my image drawn. It's my character saying the things. I don't see anything for that. That specifically, I don't own that, so I shouldn't.
I hate to jump forward on this, but it all goes back to the serious case, and I know we're going to get to that. But this John's Stuttering John persona is a character based on what they wrote on the Howard Stern show.
Created by
Howard Stern.
Yes.
So that's I'm gonna leave it there, and we'll get to it. But this is where everything's like falling apart for him as far as what is owed to him and what he owns, what's his likeness and all that shit. It's because he's living his own cartoon character. Yeah. He's living his own character right now.
He's become a caricature of himself. Quite literally. I actually think that that's a perfect tie-in for the Sirius XM case. So let's actually get into that. So, in our current LOLsuit, where Stuttering John is suing both Karl and Shuli, Karl and Shuli, through their attorney, get to actually cite case law of this previous Sirius XM suit. That is an extreme rarity. Now, the Sirius XM suit is when Stuttering John, who was the plaintiff in that suit as well, in 2020, he actually sued Sirius XM, claiming that the satellite radio station was profiting by rebroadcasting Howard Stern's old shows. These featured Stuttering John's voice, they featured his persona, they featured all of these things, and he never got paid any royalties. He argued, unsuccessfully, I will point out right now, that this violated his right of publicity, and it misled listeners into thinking that he was still associated with the Howard Stern show and Sirius XM. Now, first of all, nobody cares about any of that, right? I think that that's sort of, nobody cares. Nobody cares. But Zen, will you explain a little bit more about your points when it comes to why that is so pertinent, why his name, his persona, it being created by Howard Stern? Give us a little bit more background on that.
Well, I just feel from what I've seen on it, it's another right to publicity case that he was having with Sirius. He is contesting that his likeness, that his voice, that the Stuttering John name is being used without his consent, without any sort of he's getting any monetary gain out of it. When he doesn't realize is that they made him Stuttering John. The Stuttering John product is from became Sirius XM, but originally Howard Stern, and he has no legal right to even call himself Stuttering John.
No,
he's never copywritten it. It's not something of his own manifestation. So he is constantly meeting people, strangers in the street, people at the bar, billing himself on comedy venues as Stuttering John Melendez.
Yeah.
So if anybody deserves any compensation out of this, it should be Sirius XM and Howard Stern for letting him use the right to that name without any sort of legal action.
It was nice of Howard to not sue him all those years. And I think it's part of why John failed so miserably on The Tonight Show is because when they didn't let him be Stuttering John, he's like, I don't know who the fuck John Melendez is. Nobody does. John Melendez isn't famous.
No.
And that's all I have. Stuttering John is that guy's famous. So that's why he's always Stuttering John.
You know, I never realized this until this moment right now. His entire life is in identity crisis. That's what his life is. He doesn't know what his house is. He doesn't know what his name is. He doesn't know what... I bet that when he introduces himself at bars, he says, I'm Stuttering John, not I'm John. He has dove so deep into the caricature of himself that he no longer can differentiate between the character and the reality. And that is horrendously depressing. And I know that we all go through these like John roller coasters of I feel bad for him today or for 5 minutes or whatever it is. Maybe I'm going through a little bit of a John roller coaster where I'm like, wow, that kind of actually sucks. I wouldn't want to be that guy. I love knowing who I am and I love being confident about who I am. And it doesn't seem like he is in any way.
You know, he tried going as John Melendez when he came back to podcasting and it didn't work.
Yeah.
He ditched it in the first couple of shows because even he was like, who's John Melendez? Nobody's going to watch John Melendez.
And what does that mean, didn't work? It just means he didn't like it. Like, there's no feedback. There's no anything. He just felt naked. Didn't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Now, let's talk about some of the ways that the SiriusXM case specifically is impacting our current lawsuit, the lawsuit of Stuttering John against Karl and Shuli. So there are two very, very interesting ways that these things are intertwined at this point. The first one is that within the SiriusXM case, Stuttering John says, I am a celebrity. He says, there are tens of millions of fans who admire me. And that means that has now been judicially accepted. The courts all agree that John is a celebrity. A giant win for Stuttering John, right?
You would think.
That negatively impacts this lawsuit, though, is that means that John can no longer say, well, the reason that they aren't allowed to mess with me is because I'm just a lowly little guy. He is admitting to his celebrity within the SiriusXM case. Once you've admitted to your celebrity, that means that you're a celebrity. That means that any commentary that people are making about you is going to be newsworthy. And so that is going to really, really seriously negatively impact this lawsuit. It's going to be rough. I don't know how he overcomes that, in all honesty.
When Uber drivers come to his house to deliver food, you hear him saying to them off camera that he's a celebrity. I'm a celebrity.
He's a public figure.
Yeah.
Which makes the entire lawsuit against Karl and Shuli bullshit. Like, that is what the end of this sentence is. Just end cap right here. Now we're done. That's the end of it. But there is another thing that he should have also learned from the SiriusXM case, which he did not learn, because we all know that John does not learn from his previous mistakes. So let's take a peek at that. What he should have learned in the SiriusXM case is where he is supposed to sue people. Now, we know that in our current lawsuit, he is suing in Manhattan as opposed to Rochester. Probably a dumb thing to do. The wrong venue was also a point of contention in the SiriusXM suit. And what happened is that lawsuit was thrown out in part based on copyright, but also in part based on the fact that Stuttering John resided in California at the time that he filed the lawsuit, and he was relying on New York state law. And now in our current lawsuit, he resided in Florida and he is relying on New York state law.
Wow.
He should have known I am not allowed to sue in New York state based on this.
That's pretty amazing.
He is an idiot.
But more so, his lawyers should have known that even before they wrote anything up for him. I mean, why are they humoring him? It doesn't make sense. There's some sort of troll going on, whether Tabor's involved and Vince is working with Tabor to troll John. Why would anybody, a lawyer, and you're a legal,
I'm a paralegal.
Yeah, paralegal. Sorry,
legal assistant. Yep.
You look at over these documents all the time. You know how anal that lawyers can be, how important things are for things to be right. Why would a lawyer waste his fucking time with something that they know is so frivolous and so stupid and just keep it going? You know, like either they're getting paid copious amounts of money, which they're not, or there's some other thing going on with it.
I think so. Again, Stuttering John has these two attorneys right now. He has Susser and he has Tabor, which that's even just a stupid fucking sentence. Stuttering John has Susser and Tabor. Susser, I think it's obvious why he's participating. He wants the clout. He's a stand-up comic. He wants to be affiliated with somebody who was on the Howard Stern show. To me, that seems very obvious. Why is Tabber participating? That I think is much more complicated. I think that either somebody is paying him, or if somebody isn't paying him, he's getting something out of it. And we all know, Adam, you were mentioning earlier his presence on Twitter. He has like an AI company, like an AI fitness company or something like that. Perhaps the clout that he's looking for is literally just attention for his other businesses. It's not necessarily, I want to be considered to be the greatest attorney of all time. It's the more clicks I get on this, the more advertisers I can sell on this. And so if I just get a whole bunch of clicks because I'm doing silly stuff over here, nobody's ever going to actually look at that silly stuff. But I can say, look at my engagement. Look at how many people are commenting on my posts. And so then I can sell myself to somebody else.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think it might not even be that calculated. I think just as a lawyer, and like you're saying, he has a personality and a presence and a look that he puts out there. He's not like hiding behind a brand. So any attention, national attention to anyone is good for your law firm. Us saying his name over and over again, they know it's good. I loved how Scaramucci played John so perfectly when John called him up when the federal government were looking for him after his Trump phone conversation, and Scaramucci's like, "Yep, I will absolutely step in. I'll do nothing." When National News reached out to speak with John, he was like, "I'll take that. Thank you, John. I'll do it." He did the appearance for him, lost the case, and left. That was it. He was like, "I got a news appearance out of it, and I got my name in the cycle for the week. That's great." Tabber, why not? Just do it. Get it out there, and that would be why all of these mistakes, I think, are things John wanted for just fame, for clout, for it to get out to as many people that knew him, for Howard to see it.
Yes,
if it's in New York,
absolutely.
if it's in New York City, if it's in New York City press, then Howard will see it. And when John tells them that, they have the same goal. They're like, yeah, I'd rather look stupid in front of this judge, but if I can get under some celebrity thing, that'll help more.
And I do think that's something in support of that argument, which I haven't really talked about either, is that Tabor Benedict really has not litigated a lot of cases. So in New York State, you can look up both cases based on plaintiffs' names, defendants' names, but you can also base them on attorney names. And so I have looked up Tabor Benedict. Again, he only just recently got his bar reinstated, so he only recently became able to practice law again, but he really has not litigated a lot of cases. I think the last time that I checked, he had only litigated one, and he actually withdrew his counsel on that. Now, that doesn't reflect negatively on him in any way. A lot of the time people think that when somebody is withdrawing his counsel, that could be bad for one reason or another. There are plenty of reasons that can happen. I don't generally think that that's necessarily a negative thing. But what that means is that he has not really seen a lawsuit to completion. He is not. And so here he is now in this position where either he's going to have to see it to completion and figure it out and continue having his name said if that's what his motivation is, or he's going to have to withdraw because he wants to protect his legal reputation. I don't think it's so much about the legal reputation. I think that, Adam, you hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah. If he should withdraw from any case, it should be this one, and right away.
If he should withdraw from anything, it's driving while drunk, but he at least one time has not done that.
It certainly makes sense why he would want his name corrected.
Yeah.
Why that would be really important to him at the top.
Very embarrassing. So embarrassing. We haven't even gotten into some of the craziest things that are relating to the most irrelevant parts of this lawsuit yet. We are going to be getting into the couch cushions. We are going to be getting into my favorite part, which is going to be the witness affidavits. But before we do that, we are going to read a couple of super chats here because I see that they are coming in. Thank you guys, by the way, so much for coming and hanging out. I really appreciate it. It's wonderful to have everybody here today. First up, we have Donna G, the amazing Donna G, coming in for $20. Sorry to miss this live, but we'll catch the replay. Oh, hey, Zen.
Oh, hey, Donner.
Oh, hey, Donner. Woody from Syracuse. Let's boogie, oogie down the beer can and cat poo strewn path to justice for Shuli and Karl. Yes, FightTheDabbler.com. Might I just give that a little bit of a plug right now? Also, hi, Woody. It's good to see you in the chat. And it was good to see you last week. Meat Puppet for a $2.99 super sticker. Thank you so very much. Sorcerer coming in for $1.99. Yes, all-star lineup. And Zen. I said it like that was the good part. You're welcome.
It was the good part.
Sorcerer for another $4.99. Honest, unironic question. What if theoretically SJ said in an honest and vulnerable way, hey, this hurts me. I wish you guys weren't so rough on me? That's a great question for Karl and Shuli. Like, is there ever an honest conversation that could have happened between these parties?
Knowing their relationship, I know that for a fact that Karl and Shuli have offered an olive branch to John and have had invited him to come to DabbleCon to be a part of this and other conversations they've had that you should be a part of this and make money with us and work together.
Yeah, they've done live streams together, Karl and John. Yeah,
for sure.
Even recently, in some of his drunkest moments, John has said it, like mumbled it to Ava or something, like they just can't keep making fun of me like this. Like they just, he said it. If he did say it, directly, and everyone went, okay, he would immediately start making, grape jokes about people's dead relatives. Like he'd immediately just go as low as he could. That's the whole thing.
Right.
So I guess my answer to this question would be 6 years ago. Yeah, I think that there could have been this olive branch. If John had said, hey, you guys, I just really wish that you weren't doing this. Like, would you mind moving on? Maybe there might have been. At this point, and again, this is completely my opinion, I would think that at this point, John has done too many horrible, horrific things to two people that I care about, Karl and Shuli. I don't know that I could forgive him at this point if I were them. It might be too far gone, but that is a really good question, and I would very much like the answer from both of them about
Okay,
that.
how about this? Can I, if he was sober, if he said, I'm going to get sober, so can everybody just lay off me? Yeah. I think everyone would. And
I
if
think
we
so
could
too.
actually see it, or he was off the internet, or I don't think,
Well,
because it's not funny anymore.
I'm going to get sober, and also I'm going to make efforts to not retaliate constantly like a small child. That for me is kind of where, not even just retaliate, but like taking things too far. I would need to see actions in addition to getting sober. For me at this point, that's again entirely me.
This all goes back to the Anthony Cumia show with Artie and Anthony when they were breaking his balls on the show and he couldn't take it. He had to leave at one point. He can't take it. And these are some of his closest friends at the time. So Shuli and Karl, who the fuck are we to him? We're not friends. We're not celebrities. He's not going to take that. He'll take it from Kevin a billion times over, but he's not going to take it from Karl and Shuli. There's also that mentality that Shuli was his underling. Shuli was the guy he used to coach to get on the Howard Stern show. He made Shuli in his head. And Karl is kind of like that as well. If Karl didn't have John, what would Karl be doing without John?
No, I actually disagree with you there. I think that he still sees Shuli as the underling. I think that he sees Karl as the dad. He looks to Karl for the but you should be doing better than Shuli. You should not be doing this. You shouldn't be stooping to those levels. He looks to Karl, I think, a little bit more for approval. I don't know why, but I see him doing that sometimes. I don't know. It's a good question.
He did. John got a little excited after some of those early Karl and John shows, and he saw the money coming in, and he got actually good reviews. People, probably 4 people, you guys are a good team. And John saw stars, and he's like, we could do this. I'm going to watch your cat, and we're going to meet up at Stevie Tomatoes. And then Karl was like, I don't want to hang out at Stevie Tomatoes.
And I don't have a cat.
And I don't have a cat. So, and that actually hurt him. That's when it was war for John, because now it was personal, because he offered to do such nice things. And Karl was so mean about these fictional favors he believes he's already done for him now.
They could have literally been neighbors. I mean, they literally are neighbors, but they could have been good neighbors, happy neighbors. I'm mowing my lawn. I'm going to mow yours too. You want
WWF. Everybody getting on the same bus at the end of the match.
Great. It's so great.
All
right, few more super chats here. Woody from Syracuse, $4.99. Thank you so much. I've watched Adam for so long in the Dabbleverse, but I have never personally said hello. Here it goes. Hello, Mr. Busch. Pleasure to finally say hi to you, sir.
Thank you for doing so, Woody. I've heard your name since I've been listening to WATP, and you are a legend.
Yes, absolutely. Zen, I think that you need to read this one since it is from Zen's Inner Thoughts.
Sure. Yet, damn, Lucy's today's looking nice. Okay.
Yes, perfect. It sounded exactly like you. Text Hula for $2. Hurry up and get to the trampoline celebration. Adam will be regaling us with that shortly. The Tommy Jordan for $2. Stuttering John must have thought that he was talking to Kate Nicey. Badoom. I don't think I've ever actually heard anybody say that before, so I understand that that's kind of hack, but I have not.
That's a
heard
good
it.
point. I have not. Yeah. Sometimes it's so low you step over it. You don't even notice it.
Yeah, that was low enough hanging fruit that nobody's done it. Great job. Absolutely great job.
Highbrow coming from a man with a soul patch. So
yeah.
Good for you, Tom.
Tony Baloney, $1.99. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Y'all make Mondays great. Lucy Tightbox World Order. Thank you so much. Thank you. I so horny, $2. Zen's daughter is a nice lady.
Yes, a nice minor. Very much so. My 17-year-old daughter, right?
Zen's Inner Thoughts. Again, I would totally fork over my whole check to Lucy. I mean, you could do that.
Hey, who doesn't need $50.20?
Yes, I will look forward to that. Rumpled Trenchcoat, a Columbo podcast for $5. Who would have thought a lawyer who was disbarred for a horrible crime that would take a nonsense case from Stuttering John for free would do such a bad job? An excellent point, sir. Very much. I don't know how to read that name right now.
Aku Mugen.
Thank you. $2 Canadian. We are the O&A Pests version 2.0. Yes, absolutely. Steve Draws Stuff, who is an incredible artist. Highly recommend checking out all of his work. You can see his Stuttering John on his little image there. £5. Thank you so much. Looking wonderful as always, Lucy. I'm loving these breakdowns and great to see Adam. Oh, hey, Zen.
Oh, hey, Steve.
Rumpled Trenchcoat, a Columbo podcast for another $10. Thank you so much. It could have been an episode of Car 54. A lawyer gets out of jail and is worried that no one will ever give an ex-con a chance. Then Stuttering John appears. Gosh, this is my big chance to get back on my feet again. It's true. It really does. This entire thing truly reads like an unbelievable movie script. And that's why we're talking about the irrelevant aspects of the case today.
Yeah, Tabor was like laying in his bed with bills piled up on his table, and he got that phone call, and he was like, "Hey, you want another shot at this kid?" And then, smash cut to the preview.
Boom. Amazing. It's perfect. It's better than one too many, that's for sure. Rob Saul's Bus Stop, $2. Susser's catchphrase should have been LOL Burger.
LOL Burger.
Susser. I can't even do his own stupid catchphrase. It's really silly. Daddy Poopy for $4.99. Don't forget that VTL is bitter and that he's ignored by TSN. Salty.
All right. Well,
Twat.
What
It took me a while to read that. I paused.
That was good.
Part.
I think that was accurate. That's what it looks like.
I was like trying to read it, and then I'm bad at reading when people do things that are funny.
Tuwati.
He's going to interpret the poetry. It was good.
Listen, when it's too much like Lawrence Ferlinghetti, I don't get it myself. It's fine. John O'Reilly for $4.99. One, Vince likely providing support services, legal research, etc. for the lawsuit. So this is speculatory about what his funding is. And then two, Dr. Steve's role in GoFundMe avoids problems with SJ's cancer charity. Interesting. Very interesting. We are going to be talking about that GoFundMe a little bit later. But again, fightthedabbler.com. Go there to support Karl and Shuli. Michael P. for $4.99. The craft beers will flow like wine on Saturday, Lucy. Keep crushing it, Zen. R.I.P. Tara. Go Bills.
Sounds good to me.
I'm guessing that means that Michael P. is going to be at the Buffalo Isotopes show on Saturday. That's right. The Isotopes will be in Buffalo on Saturday at the Flying Bison from 4 o'clock until 7 o'clock, which I believe is just before the Sabres game. So you have no excuse of missing it. It's going to be super fun, and we're going to have a great time. Karl will be there. Producer Chris will be there. Croge will be there. I will be there. Other go-go dances will be there. It's going to be great. And go Bills.
That has no effect on the legal opinions here in this room and on this show.
I will still hate everybody equally, regardless of if you show up or do not show up. But it is going to be a fun time, and we are going to have a lot of craft beer, and I'm probably going to get pretty drunk. I'm going to deserve it.
You hear that, Tabber?
I won't be driving. Next up, Reverend Rage for $1.99. Send VTL the link. Will Shuli let you? Bless everyone. I don't have any contact with VTL, so I cannot do that.
No, you just talk to him. Hi, Vince.
I just say the link out loud right now. It's L_Z2469. I don't know if that's a 0 or an O. You know, we'll just keep
you're really
going.
doing it. Wow.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. Yeah, I know. Listen, there we go. There it is. Everybody join us right now. We have Lamar Cornell Johnson III, $2. Thank you. John A. Star. It's possible. Maybe I'm missing everything. Pizza for $4.99. So part of his argument is that using his picture on the DabbleCon posters, you were trying to fool people into believing he would be there. Idiotic. I actually don't. I really truly have not researched that aspect of the case a ton. I'm not sure how much his picture ever was used on the DabbleCon posters. I know that. What?
None. No.
Yeah.
No pictures.
I was going to say, I know that Frog over on TSN pulled up a whole bunch of the old posters. I think that Karl had something to do with organizing all of that. When we have the posters for these live events, typically when Who Are These Podcasts is involved in those, the posters are the people who are going to be there. So if John is not going to be there, then he typically would not be included on them.
Correct.
I don't know.
There's some DabbleCon posters with a John face somewhere on it. This is comedy at the Carlson?
Yes.
Like there are major marijuana brands that use the Grateful Dead's imagery illegally that have billboards all over. You know how hard it is to...
Is Jerry Garcia suing them?
Even if they reach out to get it taken down, it's a process. It takes a while, and it's probably not a lawsuit. Like for him to be taking up a lawsuit like this for a hand-drawn poster for a gig at Comedy at the Carlson, no one's going to take it seriously. What were the damages? How much money was really made? The courts don't want to be caught up in things like this.
Yeah,
no, they absolutely do not.
It gets weird with not actual pictures, though. If they're hand-drawn, if they're cartoon renderings, it gets a little more choppier than somebody's actual likeness.
Yeah, I would love him to have to argue in court why that cockroach-ridden, infected, with sores all over and stink lines is him.
Why that's him?
Yeah.
Right. That is me to a T. God damn it, Judge. You have to understand this. That actually leads us into another interesting point within the lawsuit, which is how much damages are actually requested within this thing. So initially, Stuttering John and his attorney Tabber are requesting $600,000 from Karl and Shuli. They later will raise that amount to $850,000. And a lot of people do ask about the relevancy of these numbers. Now, when you're first filing a lawsuit, it makes sense to request an exorbitant amount of money. It does, because you can never get a second bite at the apple, which means that if I request $100,000 and it turns out that Karl and Shuli made $200,000, I don't get to recoup that difference. I don't get to request any more than I initially requested. And so a lot of the time when it comes to lawsuits, we will see these very, very high numbers getting thrown around. However, at some point, they do need to actually prove damages. And I just don't know how they are possibly going to do that, because when we are doing these live events, when these live events are happening, there are also tons of other things that are occurring. And so it's very hard to parse out exactly what the finances are relating to Stuttering John content versus something else content versus this versus that. And none of that has been requested at this point. None of that has even been speculated to. It's just throwing out numbers.
Yeah. And we didn't know how much we were going to make on these venues.
I still don't know how much anybody made. I assume that it's not $850,000.
I think that's fair.
I think that it is extremely, extremely unlikely that Karl and Shuli pulled nearly $1 million on these events. Now, maybe I'm just a stupid dumb dummy again with a vagina and not being an attorney. Maybe that's the case, and that's why I don't understand how numbers work because I don't have a degree in math or anything. Maybe that's the case. I don't know, but that just seems like a really exorbitant number.
Yeah, well, originally it was $600,000, right?
Yes.
Which is probably close to what we made it in Florida.
Oh, it's got to be. Absolutely.
No, but I mean, but if that's the case, then I think we all have a case against Shuli and Karl because I want to get my money too. What the fuck's going on here? If we made $600,000 on these things, and everybody got grossly underpaid.
I cannot wait for the Zen lawsuit coming soon.
It's coming
down the pike, baby. It's going to be amazing.
I got no lawsuits happening for myself. I'm not juggling lawsuits. I can just start this one right now and really fuck them in the ass.
That means that you haven't learned any lessons from your previous lawsuits, which means that you can do whatever you want in this one.
God damn it.
It's going to be great. I cannot wait for that for you.
There was an indie film during COVID that unexpectedly did really well, and it was a very cheap movie. And because it did so well on this one little app, the director was doing the rounds, and they were bragging about how much money the film had made. All the actors and people heard this and realized, oh shit, we haven't been paid. So they called the union. They got paid because there was this massive, unexpected, huge Star Wars-like payday for this thing. This is not what John is looking at. This is not who he's dealing with. Nobody's going to be interested.
No, it's absolutely not. You're completely right. All right, let's get into the wacky stuff again. We got to get to the couch cushions. I cannot believe that we've made it this far without talking couch cushions.
It's my favorite
everybody is already familiar with these, obviously. So it's irrelevant. It's bizarre. But effectively what is happening is that within the complaint, Stuttering John and his attorney are claiming that individuals acting at the defendant's direction or the defendants themselves have trespassed upon his property in LA in order to obtain discarded items that belonged to John. My favorite part about this allegation is the idea of Karl and Shuli in like little cat burglar outfits, like sneaking onto his property. This is completely crazy. And even if this were true, even if people acting at Karl and Shuli's discretion and direction had retrieved sofa cushions from John and Melendez's trash in LA in order to use them as props at DabbleCon 2, in order to entice fans into ridiculing John, even if that is true, displaying someone's trash as a gag does not fall under New York's publicity laws. It is a totally different and unrelated accusation. In addition to that, I think that everybody at this point can agree you can't steal something that is discarded because it has been discarded. It is trash. Once it is trash, it is not stealable.
Absolutely.
Right?
And also what everyone's overlooking is that wasn't John's property. John was renting that place. John had a landlord. John was the deal was done. The lease was up. He left. He was gone. He wasn't even renting that property, let alone owning it.
That is correct. Sorry.
No, go ahead. You're right. No, that's pretty much my point.
Yeah, I'll take it a step further. That was not his trash. He illegally left it on the curb in front of his house, which is documented, and it would make me so happy if at the end of this he gets a ticket for that.
Yes,
that
would truly be the best outcome of this lawsuit.
Yeah.
Is him ending up with a ticket and nothing else happening. That is a really good point. So, Adam, will you actually expand upon that a little bit more? Because I think that a lot of people don't know the laws about discarding trash in LA, which are different than a lot of other cities. So, my understanding is that you can't just put stuff kind of like on the sidewalk. Is that like
what he did? And you can't. And the unspoken rule is that in certain areas where you live, if you have anything halfway decent, even just a little decent, it's like giving it back to the community in LA if you just leave it on the street, because it'll be gone the second you put it out there. But only if it's nice and people can tell the difference. And his was a disgusting, cum-drenched, just abomination. It wasn't even a couch.
I stood too close to it. I'm sad every day
Wow.
that I have to look back at photographs of myself standing near that thing. I probably have them here. Let me see if I can pull one of them up.
Even in New York, though, there's something called bulk pickup. I'm
Yeah.
assuming it's in California too. Bulk pickup is a designated time and place for leaving big stuff outside, like objects,
Yes.
like furniture, something like that. That you can't just leave it out there on the sidewalk unless there is like a bulk pickup coming that day, or it's okay with the property owner that you're leaving it out there. So that's another thing too. Like that's another law he's breaking.
Yeah, an actual mattress, an actual like refrigerator, anything you really are getting rid of, you have to call bulk and schedule a day, and you can't just leave it out there. You have to put it out there that day. Everything he did was illegal, and I love how his ego gets in the way of everything. He talks himself out of this whole thing in that sentence. He's like, his couch, which was prominently displayed on a very popular TV show in his home studio, is now the object
Everybody
of
knows.
desire. Right. So what did you expect? They still drive by the Addams Family house, guy.
Yeah, it is an honor, I feel like, to be put on the star maps, right? Like, I think that most people who like want to be considered to be a something, they would love it if their home in LA was put on the star maps. Now, would they love it necessarily in practice? No, but they would love it in principle. The idea of being infamous enough that people want to appreciate your belongings or your house or your whatever, that is effectively what John tells us that he wants all the time, except for the fact that when he gets it, when somebody takes his discarded trash, his couch cushions, that he goes, "Oh, well, you're not allowed to do that. You're not. You finally gave me the thing that I wanted, which was to be appreciated, but you used the thing that I wanted, not to revere me, not to appreciate me, but rather to admonish me and to say how horrible I am." And that wasn't the whole point. The whole point was that my couch was sacred. Nobody's couch is fucking sacred. There's so many farts on there, dude.
Lots of farts. No.
There
So
was
many.
so much cum on that thing. Ugh, the fucking black lights.
Yeah. And listen, there's a lot of cum on my couch too, but at least I'm not going to put it on the sidewalk for public display. I'll get rid of it discreetly, like you're supposed to.
You're gonna burn it so
Set it
that
on
everybody
fire.
has to smell your cum. What's the other way of discarding a couch?
You hire somebody to take it from you, or you take it yourself to the dump, like a reasonable person.
Like a reasonable person.
like a reasonable person who comes on his couch all the time. Yeah.
Oh my God, completely crazy. All right, let's talk about one of the other big aspects of this case that is completely irrelevant, which of course is the Kate Meany spy operation relating to the tapes being illegally recorded. Now, what I think is so egregious about this particular portion of the lawsuit is that it's effectively gossip discussed as evidence. So what are the tapes? Adam, will you explain the tapes to everybody while I pull a couple of things up here?
Sure. The tapes were John having long romantic conversations with Kate Meany, Kevin Meany, the comic's daughter, where he would basically get drunk and talk shit about everyone he knew and try and hit on her. And this went on for months and months and months until it all fell apart. Their friendship ended, and Kate gave the tapes to Shuli, and they played it for everyone. John was mocked at an event, and then to prove he'd learned his lesson, John did it again with the same woman and started calling Kate Meany drunkenly after he'd harassed her mother, called her the worst things in the world, and did it all again because he needs a friend. And she recorded it again, and then they played it again.
Tape season 2, baby. I do think that it's important to note, you might have actually said this and I just missed it, but the much younger Kate Meany.
Yes.
A much younger Kate Meany. And much of their conversations are sexualized. Much of their conversations are about drugs. There is nothing that shines brightly on either of these two people within these conversations. They are both just kind of having fun and being silly. And the difference is that Kate knows that she's recording, whereas John alleges that he does not know that she is recording. However, there are many times where he goes against that very fact. So it is my understanding that he likely knew that she was recording. So these tapes, what is being accused in this lawsuit is quite crazy, because Stuttering John says in his initial complaint that these were secretly recorded phone calls with Melendez, that Kate did that. His acquaintance did that. He later will change his tune and say, she was not my friend. I was so betrayed by her. I couldn't believe that this happened. You know, we're not still friends or anything like that anymore, because he needs that in order to support his case. But in addition to that, he also is doing things like claiming extortion within this section of the lawsuit.
Mm-hmm.
The complaint claims that the defendants, quote, threatened to release embarrassing recordings unless Melendez admitted to crimes that he did not, in fact, commit. I have no idea what he is alleging, what he's referencing here. Like, I honestly don't know. And the fact that all of us within our little Dabbleverse cannot figure this out easily strikes me as very bizarre, because we all kind of know each other's business, right? So have either of you seen anything about what that specific section is talking about?
Well, what I just saw you highlighted was that Shuli was extorting, meaning, or she wanted him to stop harassing her, and the way that he was extorting her was that if you give me the tapes, we're going to stop harassing you, we're going to stop mocking you and making fun of you, which never happened. That was never the case.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and then again, it continues along here. Let me actually pull this up so that I can read it. Maybe I can read it. Oh, that's really far away from me. Nope, I can't read any of those words. This is where they are literally saying that there is extortion happening. The quote, the threatened to release embarrassing recordings unless Melendez admitted to crimes that he did not commit. So I just don't, it's irrelevant, right?
It is.
Claiming that these tapes were illegally recorded is even more irrelevant. That is in the same way that the couch cushions could potentially be considered a crime of trespassing. If that was even the case, it's not. But like, if there was ever a crime related to that, perhaps that's what we could say about the couch cushions. If we are talking about the tapes being illegally recorded, the only way that we can have that conversation is, was it legal? Was it within a two-party consent state? Was it within a one-party consent state? What is going on? That has nothing to do with right of publicity, which is what our current lawsuit is all about.
No, that's more like a public image case, right? Like, that was more like we're going after his public image. We're trying to disgrace him, or defamation, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And in addition to that, I would say that these are very extraordinarily serious accusations. When you are saying that somebody is extorting you, when you are saying that somebody has done something in these evil ways, embarrassing recordings, if you admit to crimes, there's zero specifics here. Why would you ever do that? It borders on like a tabloid style narrative that is meant to paint Karl and Shuli as victims, as opposed to actually supporting any actual civil cause of action, which would be the right of publicity. And that, I think, is what always trips me up on this lawsuit, is that there is never a time where it isn't just John saying, well, but I'm hurt. Why do you keep hurting me? Why do you keep doing that? I don't want you to do that for me. I would like it if you stopped doing that. And he continues along with that because he references the FBI 1,000 times in this lawsuit. He says, I filed reports with the FBI about the fact of the FBI and the LAPD about the fact that these were illegally recorded phone calls. I did all of these things. Right. If that had happened, if he had filed reports with the FBI and the LAPD, and these were illegally recorded phone calls, then this would not have anything to do with a civil right of publicity lawsuit. Instead, it would be a federal case where the phone calls would be in question. It has nothing to do with right of publicity.
Yeah,
It's
this should be a real
tossing in-
RICO act for sure.
Yeah. Tossing in FBI involvement to make it sound more like a criminal situation doesn't impress the courts in New York State. It makes the courts think that you are wasting their time.
It's
Yeah.
the same thing as the serious one. We don't have one specific offense. It's not like they came to my house, they punched me in the face, and that's why I'm suing him. It's whatever they think will stick. And I guess they added this because it might. It's funny. The more I think about all the cases where someone was recorded and it was released, I don't remember whether it was legal or not, but I do remember the person getting punished for it. There was even that PDF actor who was confessing it in therapy or something, or couples counseling, which is just illegal. You can't record someone in couples counseling, but if they're committing a crime or they're confessing, I don't know the specifics, but it's interesting that John has to say, and even though I did say I was mailing drugs all around the world to myself and to other people, that's not what we're focusing on, because these other people
that
are mean.
has nothing to do with it. With all of the conversations about drugs and sex during those phone calls are irrelevant. Nobody cares about the Eiffel Tower. What we really care about is that
Well,
they were
international crime.
recorded.
Is it a federal crime to mail stuff illegally?
I think it is.
Believe it might be.
I think it might be.
It also just seems like a lot more paperwork you have to file with your lawyer and more money. Like, well, why don't you just stick to what you're suing the guy for? Why are you going to spend oodles more money, including all these other offenses that don't have any relevance to the case?
Well, again, it reads very much like a soap opera. And in fact, it even brings up points like, well, what about this romantic relationship? And Adam, like you mentioned, she actually taped him twice because that's either how stupid he is or because he was aware of it. So how did Shuli nefariously convince her to do this a second time? I mean, that really is what it comes down to. It's not. Allegedly, it's because he threatened to spread false romantic rumors. Again, that's literally what was happening on Passions in 2001. Like, that is not a thing that is happening in the real world. We are not. No magic puppet is coming out of the universe except for Tukey, and believe me, he has nothing to do with this. I don't understand why we are talking about these things. I don't understand why this subplot, this literal subplot of the lawsuit, is taking up pages. Why are we doing this?
It all kind of reads like John talks, but in legalese. He really does believe this thing he's always talking about, that the court of public opinion, if I could just, like Lenny Bruce, tell the judge how mean they've been and the words they've used to describe women and ethnicities, how could they not side with me? They will. And that's what this all is, just all that stuff, and how they're all one person. Like, Kate's not coming down and testifying on your behalf that Shuli said he was going to ruin her credibility if she didn't wear a wire and tape this man for months and months and hours at a time. That's not what happened. She's not going to admit to that. But he's just hoping that'll be enough. I'm a good guy. How could you like that person? He wears a cow bikini.
He's insane. He's crazy. That's Lady K over there. Did you know that he weighed shit? That other guy? Oh my God. You're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. And that is the black and whiteness of the universe that people like Stuttering John see. And courts don't rule in that way. There's been a lot of research actually about how judges actually make decisions based on economics. That's something that I always think is very interesting. So there was Ronald Coase actually did quite a few studies on this. He was an economist and also a judge, and what he talks about is that the same way that economists think, which is frequently a little bit peculiar. A lot of the time economists are like, recycling is actually bad, even though everybody thinks that it's good. Let's think about the opposite way. Is it truly good for society for us to do these things? In the same way that economists have those sorts of thoughts, judges have those sorts of thoughts. So judges don't care who's being mean to who on the playground. Nobody cares if Bobby was pulling Susie Q's pigtails. We just don't care about that. That's not the conversation that we're having. What we're having is a conversation about what is just, what is right for society, what creates more utility, what is important to make our country run in a good way. And so as much as Karl and Shuli might have been mean sometimes, and they might have been, I will not ever say that they were never mean. They're mean to me sometimes. I laugh about it because I'm not a little pussy bitch. Like, that's not a reason for me to sue them. That is a silly, funny thing that we do when we pull pigtails and we have fun. And the court doesn't give a fuck. The court cares about making real, just decisions about life.
That also fall on the shoulders of the lawyers to include that? Again, why are the lawyers putting up with that and going, John, maybe we shouldn't include this. Maybe has nothing to do with the case, has nothing to do with what you're suing them for. No, put it in. Okay. If you want me to.
I do think that part of it is painting a picture, and I do think that it's important to paint pictures within lawsuits. You have to kind of give the judge the background in the best way that you can. I think that was the worst possible way to give them the background. I think that was the worst possible way. I think that they just failed. That's a really good question. I would have to think about a little bit more, but I do think that there are better ways to show that Karl and Shuli potentially were not playing nice in the sandbox. I am sure that there have been plenty of ways. I think that overall Karl and Shuli have handled Stuttering John near perfectly in all of the ways that he has hurt them. I wouldn't be able to handle it as well as they are. However, I'm sure that there have been instances where maybe they said something that they wish that they hadn't said, or maybe they behaved in a way that they wish they hadn't behaved. That being said, maybe I would have focused on the, I don't know. That's a really hard question. As I'm trying to think about it, as I'm like going through it in my head, I legitimately can't think of any examples like that. So,
right, or how about just leave it out?
I mean, that's the logical answer to that question, obviously.
I get painting a picture is important and all that, but why don't you paint a picture concerning the right of publicity? Why don't you go further into what was going on at DabbleCon 2 as far as his likeness, as far as using the stuff that he was suing us for, instead of talking about all this offshoot stuff about Kate Meany and the tapes
or as Adam said. Adam, you pointed out that there was a caricature drawn on one of the posters. Why not include that? That is right to publicity. Like, that is using a likeness on a poster could potentially be involved in that. So yeah, absolutely. Now, that being said, they've already requested to amend the complaint for a second time. So usually I would not feel comfortable with talking about legal strategies for the adversary. However, in this case, I think that I can do that, since the odds of them getting the complaint amended, they haven't even gotten it amended a second time. The odds of them putting in a request to amend the complaint a third time would be next to none, in my opinion. If they do that, they are out of their goddamn fucking minds. All right, we still have a few things to get through. We have scheduling to get through. We also have the witness affidavits to get through. We're going to go through just a few more super chats here, and then we're going to get to all of that. I forgot to ask Adam and Zen, do either of you have a hard cutoff time? I apologize. I know we're probably going to go for another long-ish time here. So if either of you are rushing to get off, please let me know.
I'm good.
That's so quiet.
I just had a quick question.
Yes.
In like a political sense, I don't know if Newt Gingrich, he's not a politician anymore. Can I hold an anti-Newt Gingrich rally? Can I get people together that don't like Newt Gingrich and what he believes in and just throw a party? I think I can do that, right? I think
He's
I can
still
even
a public figure, sure.
Hold a concert and call it the anti-Newt Gingrich and have bands come, and they can either donate money or make a profit. He ran for senator or governor. Like, you can do that. You can have an I Hate This Band festival. They did I Hate Disco rallies. Howard Stern holding rallies against funerals, holding funerals for his enemies. Like, you can have an event and the tone can be, we don't like them. That's not a crime. It sucks, John, but it's not a crime. And he just doesn't understand that. Yeah. He just keeps thinking somebody's going to feel bad for him in this way and just make it all go away. But it's not going to happen.
I'm going to say the nicest thing that anybody has ever said about Newt Gingrich, which is he's not a pussy bitch. So he would not sue for that. And I know that it degenerates this to the smallest of levels, but that truly is what this comes down to, is you hurt my feelings. And we will see that by the time that we are talking about the witness affidavits, by the time that we are talking about things like the GoFundMe, by the time that we are talking about why John is just so butthurt. Like, and that really is what it is. And you're completely right. That is an incredibly, incredibly good question to be asking. That's a question that we should be asking ourselves all the time is, can we say, I just want to have a party to celebrate how much I hate this thing, in the same way that sometimes people want to have parties to say, I love this thing.
Yes,
you get to
can.
do both of those.
You
exactly. Absolutely.
Oh, this is all very, very new to John too. The internet, the way the internet works with trolling, with criticism. It's all on all fronts. Like, you do something and it's up the next day, videos, everything. I mean, kids get into fights in school, and then we were kids, that would be the end of it. But now kids got to watch it on YouTube. They got to watch their ass getting kicked constantly again with comments. This guy sucks. He a pussy. All this shit. It's the same thing with John. John has never experienced a hate like this in his life. So he is hurt. His butt hurt is exponential.
Just don't read it.
Yeah, they all, Opie, Aaron, John, they all have had this kind of hate coming at them their whole lives. They just didn't have to read it. Now they need it to survive, so it's unavoidable.
Right. If it upsets you, don't do it. You have control over yourself. You are a sentient human being who can do things on your own. And if you're not enjoying something, then stop doing it. Go get a job at a fucking gas station if you can't handle it. Like, that's a perfectly reasonable thing to do. I would never judge somebody for making that choice. What I do judge people for is to continue to put themselves into situations where they feel bad, and then they use those feel bad feelings to make me feel bad. I'm not going to feel bad for you in those feel bad feeling situations. I trailed off on the end there, but
Daniel Day-Lewis is
my
a
point.
cobbler. Daniel Day-Lewis is a cobbler in Italy. I mean, he gave it up for the most part, and he's perfectly fine with just being a cobbler. Why can't John just cobble?
Yeah,
well, that's a skill and a talent. That takes an actual trade.
True.
You got to learn that stuff.
The stuttering cobbler.
A few more super chats here. We have Daddy Poopy coming in with $1.99. Hootie Tootie LOLsuit cuties. I can't do it. Hootie Tootie LOLsuit. That's really fucking hard to do. Hootie Tootie Disco Cuties. I can do that one. Jack Sampson coming in for $5. Lovely Lucy. I see you replaced Luigi with another Jew. Oh, hi, Adam Chuckleberg. It's true. I needed 2 Jews to replace Luigi. He unfortunately could not make it tonight, but hopefully we'll be back soon.
How's that feel? Now we're all.
It's Rob Saul.
Oh no! Everybody run! John's Coke Jaw for $9.99. Yes. Raper Butt for $1.99. I just want to say a huge shout out to Raper Butt. He has been helping me with production when it comes to the Lucy Does Dabbleverse quickie episodes. So thank you so very much, Raper Butt. Greatly appreciated. I think we'll see his new suit again in December. Yes, John's new lovely suit that he was wearing after the wedding. I think we might see that as well. The next court date is scheduled for December 16th in this lawsuit. So we are unlikely to get any information before then. And that's probably mostly going to be just a kind of procedural sort of hearing. It's not going to be anything exciting. Nothing's going to get decided on that day. Next up, we have Trigger, Sir Pounce-a-Lot for $5. Great show, Lucy, and thank you for the series. Zen and Adam on the same night. How are we supposed to determine who is the sexiest? It's the Jew.
Oh, okay.
We just decided we all were, right? No?
There you go.
Okay. Jeff. Hello, Jeff. I hope to see you in Boston this week. $5. Lucy, I also have a ticket to Crispin Glover movie screening. Yay. I'm so excited. I'm going to see Crispin Glover in Boston on November 3rd. It's going to be absolutely incredible. So, Jeff, I will see you there. I cannot wait. It's going to be amazing. Raper Butt for $1.99. Has anyone made a Lucy's Bush joke?
No,
yet?
I went right for Adam's tight box. Unfortunately.
Good sir. I'm blushing for you right now. Tony Baloney $4.99. Y'all are celebrities, in my opinion. You aren't BTS or Kanye, thank God, but you have a strong and dedicated following. I completely agree. When people make fun of me, I think that I am a public figure. Reverend Rage for $1.99. Discovery shows payrolls and you mighty John SJ Army.
Uh-oh. Vince is getting sloppy. I don't know what that means.
Well, that is
Everyone has to
accurate.
disclose their financials.
So
that means?
Discovery, what this is saying, what I believe that this is saying is that as the lawsuit continues, if the lawsuit continues and it doesn't immediately get dismissed, which I still think is a possibility, one of the next steps that is going to happen is going to be discovery, and that will allow both sides, so both plaintiff and defendants, to ask for certain pieces of information that allow them to further their end of the lawsuit, to further their arguments. So one of the things that John's side might ask for might be financial information so that he can determine what percentage or what amount of that $850,000 he actually gets.
Okay. Well, I have a lot of IOUs with Shuli's signature on it.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Oh, me too, baby. Big fan, $4.99. They're real and they're spectacular. Adam's glasses, I mean. Happy Halloween birthday to Vanilla Ice, 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 baby.
Wow.
Thank you for
Lovely.
that covert political statement.
Yes. Why can't I say this name?
It's Zen's.
My
Aku
eyeballs.
Magoon.
Thank you. Canadian $2. Bet the Kardashian dresser was trash like cushions.
He was
one of the
selling that. He was selling that,
Kardashian-
remember?
Oh,
His Kardashian
that's
couch.
And it was pretty
right.
shitty looking. There was a lot of chips in it
Yes.
and stains and all kinds of horrible things.
That's a great point. I had forgotten that. Rumpled Trenchcoat, a Columbo podcast for $5. Do you think the extortion was Stuttering John's way of explaining away why he bragged on the tape about mailing drugs to himself and others? That's not a bad theory. I do look forward to, again, if discovery does happen, we will get to see other conversations such as, I don't know, maybe John and Kate Meany's text message conversations, maybe more information about drugs. I don't know. I mean, I feel like there's a lot more information that we could be getting there. There's been some,
Right.
I know Dabblers Anonymous has made some insinuations that there might be quite a bit more to text messages going within there. So maybe drugs aren't the biggest of John's worries, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
She must be so scared of Shuli making fun of her. He's just got her running wild. This is crazy blackmail.
Very intimidating.
Yeah.
He's 5'5", by the way.
You know, I'm gonna.
He's like a duck.
I think that, you know, women are really challenging when it comes to other women. And I will kind of pull back the curtain here and just say that it frequently is challenging for women to acknowledge when somebody else is very powerful. Kate Meany is one of the most powerful women that I have ever seen on the face of the planet. She does not get enough credit for how much she wields. And I'm not saying that I know for a fact that she acted alone here. I don't know any of the details of that. I know absolutely nothing about that. If there is discovery ever in this lawsuit, perhaps I'll find out. That being said, I don't give a fuck because she is so interesting and she has explained why she did these tapes. And she did that based on her own explanation for herself. And that is a badass fucking bitch right there. That is so badass. And I wish I could be that badass. And I am jealous of it in so many ways, in the most beautiful of ways, in the ways that I'm like, wow, a woman really did entirely take control of her ability to wield over men. And she used it for all of our good.
Well said.
And I'm constantly astonished. Sometimes I go back and I listen to things that Kate has done, and I am so proud of her.
At 25.
And I hope that's the craziest dang part. This all started with him sending her a ring light and her calling him a buffoon. And this is where we got to.
It's even more than that. It's we looked at this Riyadh Comedy Festival, and a lot of people said they were there for political reasons. They said they were there for a lot of reasons. I kept saying, I would believe, and I think you would too, trust anyone who said they went over there just to do some good if they didn't take the money. But no one did that. If they went, they took the money. So your argument's done. You know who didn't take the money? Kate Meany. She did all this, didn't take the money, and then left the internet. So there would be no way for her to receive any clout, any benefits, hear them cheering her name.
She got nothing for this. She did this for her. Yep. She did this for her. And I want to address this comment right here. What is this feminist hour? I fucking hate women. I hate myself more than I hate most women. The fact that I am complimenting a woman right now, that's how fucking awesome she was with this. I really truly respect the shit out of her. I think she's an idiot for a lot of reasons. I'm not saying that she's the best human on the face of the planet. This was fucking cool. It was really cool.
She didn't even show up to DabbleCon 2 to claim her crown as the queen of the Dabbleverse. Nope. She brandoed us. She she sent a Native American woman to the
she did.
award show.
And you can argue, just like the comedy festival, whether it was right or wrong for them to go, whether it was right or wrong for her to tape. We know it's a slippery area, but when you listen to it, even though she's an adult, what I hear is two lonely people in comedy who found each other, who were getting each other through the night by talking, but he was, and you can hear it, really grooming and really like beginning to isolate and just take over and make feel bad. He was just trying to own her, and he had the time, like the years to put into this. He's like, if you just let me talk to you, I will own you and everything that's yours within 2 years.
What's even crazier to me about that, Adam, is that in the first set of the tapes, I didn't get that feeling quite as much. It was the second set of the tapes that I really got that. Where, again, I agree that there is some of those aspects within tape season 1. But tape season 2 is where I really felt the grooming, is where I really felt him being a bad person. And that's after he already knew that she did it once. That's even more poetic, that he would continue to make the same mistake and then be that lonely that he did it again, that he hurt so badly that he would then, like,
he's not a person who spends time thinking about his future. He's really just thinking about the present, and that's all. Yeah. He's like, even though I know this is gonna hurt, in a while, I need this right now because I got nothing else.
Yeah.
Plus the booze helps.
Yeah, absolutely.
He threw his kids under the bus to like make her feel better, to make her laugh. He's willing to like just completely embarrass his kids in a way that you wouldn't say if it was a private phone call.
He called his trans son mentally ill on a phone call to a woman he didn't even meet at that point. She was a stranger. He's just so lonely. He has to talk about it with somebody. He has all these feelings that he can't say out loud on his podcast because then he's a bad person. He's not woke. He's not a Democrat. He's an ally to the LGBTQ plus community. But on the phone, her friends are F words because they drink martinis. My son has mental problems because he's a trans man. He needs that outlet because that's the real John coming out, and we all experienced. And he can't deal with the real John. He can't deal with looking at himself in that mirror. So he has to do something. I'll sue them because they're making me feel feels I don't like.
All right, let's do some rapid fire mistakes within this LOLsuit, and then we'll get into the nitty gritty again. So this is going to be a ton of mistakes that I just spotted as I was looking through everything. So I know that these images are going to be a little bit small here, but I'll kind of try to direct you to where your eyeballs are looking. So I mentioned earlier in our episode that there were some legal documents that Tabber forgot to sign off on before he filed them. This is just a silly attorney thing that sometimes they forget to sign a document. It is the paralegal's job to make sure that all documents are signed before documents get filed with the court, but that did not happen here. So that's just a silly one. In addition to that, So that document down there, you can see that in the yellow in the bottom right corner there, and that is a word count certification. So effectively what's happening here is that Tabber is not certifying to anything. In addition to that, I want to talk a little bit about the motion sequences. So you can see there in green, I have highlighted that Tabber has filed this document under motion sequence 3. So what is a motion sequence exactly? A motion sequence is tying all of the different motions together. So in this particular case, what we have is that Danny and Karl and Shuli have filed a motion to dismiss. And then in addition to that, they have separately filed a motion to transfer venues. With these two documents, anything that relates to the motion to dismiss should be filed under motion sequence number 1. We want to follow the line down path number 1. Anything that relates to motion sequence 2, which relates to the motion to transfer venue, we want to file down motion sequence 2. In this case, Tabber filed what is called a cross motion. That means that it should be across from something else. However, he did not file it across from anything else. He instead created an entirely new motion sequence. This is just horrible procedural etiquette within a lawsuit. And in addition to that, it makes all of the documents really hard to follow, incredibly challenging, because now we can't go from point A to point B to point C all in this line, and then A to B to C all in this line. Now we're like, okay, we're A over here, and then D, and then it's like trying to do how to poke a dabbler. Like, and then next B, and you just have absolutely no idea where you're going. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to point that out as well. In addition to that, you will also notice that at the top of these two documents here, I have highlighted in blue Kate Meany's name. These are documents that Tabber and John have filed. And what that is up there is the caption. So this means that these are the defendants. So Karl is a defendant, Shuli is a defendant, TSN is a defendant, WATP is a defendant. It's also listing Kate Meany as a defendant. Now, the plaintiff has actually requested to add Kate Meany to the defendant caption. However, they have to wait for the court to grant that in order to be able to add her. So the fact that they have added her here without having the permission of the court is a giant slap in the face to the court. This is, again, it's not just bad procedurally, but it looks like you are flouting the court's ability to make decisions. And so this is another situation where we get this, what in the heck are John's attorneys doing? Why are they performing so poorly? Is it, I don't know, is it just dumbness? Is it something else? I have no idea, honestly.
I said this in the beginning of the show. They're trolling him. Somebody is trolling him. Somebody's pulling these strings, and then
you think that they know that we'll know that they know that we know.
Of course. How? I mean, it's so dumb to think that if we got an actual lawyer, if we got a real lawyer, and we got a great lawyer, Danny's great, that would have been pointed out to us anyway. Like, what the fuck are they doing with this? They can't put this on here, this and that. But you know what you're talking about, of course, because you work in a law firm. It's stuff that I guess everybody would know if they were filing lawsuits, if they were writing legal documents. This would be the protocol. So why are they fucking with John like this? Why do they keep putting out these horrible legal documents? It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that is an entirely crazy idea, but it also, again, to file a lawsuit and to take it this far into that lawsuit, that's commitment to the bit, I guess.
Yeah,
I can't imagine spending my free time like that. Is that how you want to spend your free time?
I mean, that's what a lawyer we know does all the time. I mean, as somebody who as an accomplished lawyer as Vince claims to be, with his big law firm and all that stuff, why would he be spending his downtime fucking with this guy from the Howard Stern show 30 years ago? Why isn't he going to Europe with his wife or doing all these amazing things that you do when you have tons of money and a great job? Why is he spending all his time working with this guy, constantly texting him during his shows? When he's on, Vince is there. When it just seems like it's all tied together with everything else that's going on with these lawyers.
Yeah. All right, let's get into the witness affidavits. Now, this is an aspect of the LOLsuit that I have hardly talked about yet, but I know that a lot of people have made commentary on. I think that Kiwi Farms is really fixating on this aspect of the lawsuit, and this is going to be the witness affidavits. So when Karl and Shuli filed some motions, they had witnesses sign affidavits. I was actually one of those witnesses. And what I had to explain in my witness affidavit is what I saw and what happened and what my understanding of things was. I was a witness to the fact that I attended both DabbleCon 2, I attended Dabble House, and that I have seen Stuttering John's experiences and things like that. The reason that I was a witness is because that's the reason that I was a witness. One of the things that I was also attesting to was the fact that it would be more challenging for me to have a lawsuit occur in Manhattan because I don't live there. So that was the reason that I ended up submitting that witness affidavit. So similarly, Stuttering John's side ended up submitting witness affidavits. Now, my witness affidavit explained my personal reasons why it was not convenient for me to travel to Manhattan for a court case. And all of the other witnesses on the defendant's side also explained that. So, for example, Chris said why it would be challenging for him. And Jenny Jingles said why it would be challenging for her. Everybody had their own explanation that they wrote in their own handwriting, that they wrote in their own words. When Stuttering John's side submitted witness affidavits, they all submitted identical witness affidavits. This is extremely bad on the part of the attorneys who are filing these documents, because it is canned language that exists within here that is just the same exact thing in every single document. No two people can have the same exact experiences. They can't. In addition to that, there is a ton of hearsay in these affidavits. All of these witnesses are describing, well, I felt like I might have heard this sort of situation happening over here. They're not giving any definitives. They're not giving statements of fact. They are describing other things. In fact, all of these witness affidavits state that a person who has consented to the recordings, referring to John, would not urgently invoke FBI and police involvement. Mr. Melendez did so because he never consented and he was desperately seeking to put a stop to unlawful activity. What these affidavits are saying there is that I believe that someone who didn't like the idea that tapes were recorded of them would not go and call the FBI immediately. It's not saying I know that he called the FBI. It's not saying I know that he sought police involvement. It is saying I just think that he was probably not consenting to this, and I don't think that he would have done that and then told me about it after the fact, even though he didn't really tell me about it when it happened. I just don't think that that's exactly what would happen. And these are so embarrassingly copy and pasted that even the affidavit of his mother, where his mother is referring to John, refers to him as a friend instead of, it says,
Wow.
I know John. So all of the other ones are like, I know John because he's a friend of mine. His mother's affidavit, also because it is copy and pasted, says, I know John because he's a friend of mine. No, you
Wow.
know him because he came out of your vagina. That is how copy and pasted these documents are.
I just wanted to be friends with him.
I mean, they were probably trying. I imagine it's a challenge no matter what your relationship is with him.
It's like
We
that
need to
old
take a
Rodney
step back in
Dangerfield.
our relationship. Let's just be
Yeah.
friends, John.
It's like that old Rodney Dangerfield joke. Is like, my mother never breastfed me. She just wanted me to be friends.
So the idea that these are copy and pasted, again, when you are a witness in something, you are swearing under the penalty of perjury. You are saying, I am submitting this information. I know that this is going to be true. I am telling you that this is the case. Everything is 100% accurate in this affidavit. Adam, if I drafted a document that was applicable to me, and then I asked you to sign off on it in the under the penalty of perjury, do you think that you and I could attest to the same exact things? Do you think that your and my experiences are going to be exactly the same? Let's say even just for witnessing the sunrise. How I describe witnessing the sunrise, is that going to be the same exact way that you describe witnessing the sunrise?
The language wouldn't be the same.
The language wouldn't be the same. It would be impossible. It would not be possible. And so the idea that this was obviously canned language that somebody wrote and said, hey, everybody, go ahead and sign off on this, that's crazy enough. But to me, what's even crazier is that at some point, you'll notice that I have 2 red circles on the affidavit that's over on the left-hand side of the screen. Somebody at some point before filing these documents took time to redact information. They took time to remove information. So you can see in that lower left-hand red circle that a name was blocked out. It starts with the letter A and it's blocked out there. And the reason for that is to protect somebody's information. That means that that person doesn't want their information to be known. They don't want to be doxxed. However, you'll notice in that right-hand circle that although we remembered to redact the name in one spot, we forgot to redact it in the other spot.
Right.
I cannot imagine worse lawyering. If I had an attorney who doxed one of my witnesses, I would be furious. Witness doxing is not an okay thing to do. I've experienced some of that recently. It's not super fun. I'm getting doxed and I am also a witness. It's not great. I would be pissed the fuck off at an attorney who did this. This is not something that Karl and Shuli did. The only person that did this is Taber Benedict and his team, who are the people who filed these documents. You cannot blame Karl and Shuli on this one. And if you did want to protect her identity, maybe hire a better attorney? I don't freaking know.
Well, I have a new theory then. Maybe it's not a big troll that they're doing on John. Maybe it's just that John isn't paying them what they deserve, and they're spite writing all these legal documents and doing it on purpose to fuck with him, just because they feel like he's not giving them the financial, what they wanted financially for the court case. And maybe he promised them money, and maybe he's not delivering on the money. Maybe he hasn't paid them yet. Maybe
I think you're right. He should sue them.
I think it'll happen.
They're fucking with his mother.
They're fucking with his mother.
Dox my mother.
All right. So I actually underlined something in a document that we looked at a very long time ago at this point that I'm going to pull back up here. So this makes a note. This goes all the way back to the summons and complaint. And paragraph 105 there at the bottom, you can see I have some underlining in red, says, this public discussion underscored that defendant's conduct was not only well known, but widely perceived as unlawful. So what this is saying is that Karl and Shuli, them using John's likeness, was perceived by everybody as being so unlawful. It was so uncool. It was so uncool that they played the tapes. Everybody hated it. Nobody liked it. Everybody was really, really, really upset about it. And you would think, right? You would think that if it was widely perceived as unlawful, that within those witness affidavits that are copy and pastes of each other, that there would probably be some allegations that those people perceived it as being wildly unlawful. None of those witness affidavits actually say anything like that. And so accusations that we started out within the summons and complaint, that people everywhere in New York County and all over the world, everybody thought that this was unlawful. His own witnesses are not attesting to that. This would have been a great thing to have them attest to. But not only could he not have them attest to relevant things, but in addition to not being able to attest to relevant things, he had them all attest to the same damn crap because it has absolutely nothing to do with any of the documents that they're talking about. None of it has to do with anything about right of publicity. That's not what this is about. this is about, again, those hurt feelings that we keep talking about.
I wish we were that well watched by other people on the internet. You know, getting 20,000 memberships is like a drop in the pond compared to how many people actually watch other shows. You know, you're seeing people with millions of viewers. Like, what is this worldwide outrage that we're doing with John? Again, you're right. It's a very small group of people who actually watch the show, and a lot of them aren't outraged. A lot of them are actually having a great time.
Yeah. It's not widely perceived. If it was widely perceived, any one of your witnesses should have attested to it, but instead none of them did. So now I don't think that it's widely perceived. I guess that's kind of the point that I'm trying to make there. I want to pull up the witnesses' affidavits again for one more second, because we already know. Okay, so John's mother is a witness. We know this because John's own attorney was dumb enough to dox her by not redacting certain pieces of information. Now, if the witnesses are telling the truth in these affidavits, let's say all of them truly did see the sunrise exactly as they were expecting to see the... Adam, you and I, we saw the sunrise in exactly the same way. We saw all the same colors. It was like that beautiful pinky blue, and then we had like the more pink and then some yellows, and you and I saw it exactly the same. We described it exactly the same way. If that is true, if all of these witnesses are telling the truth, then that means that John went to his mommy about a 25-year-old girl, secretly recording his phone conversations with her that feature drugs and sex and banging on top of the Eiffel Tower. Because at one point in these witness affidavits, his mother says this. She says, "I personally observed Mr. Melendez's emotional state once he learned that his private communication had likely been surreptitiously recorded and leaked. He was distraught, angry, and shocked at the violation of his trust. Let me remind you, not only did his mother feel that way, but also his brother felt that way. Also, JM felt that way. Also, Daniel felt that way. Every single one of his witnesses felt that way. They all saw exactly the same dang thing. On multiple occasions, his mother goes on, and all of them go on. In late 2024, Mr. Melendez, she refers to her son as Mr. Melendez, of course, expressed to me that he couldn't believe a friend would secretly tape to him." Just think about that for 1 second. If I was horrendously embarrassed by a 25-year-old girl on the internet, and part of that embarrassment involved me grooming her, talking about sexual acts with her, talking about drugs with her, the last thing that I would do is go tell my fucking mommy. Either he is the teeniest, tiniest little bitch boy in the world, or his mother is lying under the penalty of perjury. And I don't know which one of those two things he wants to rest on here.
The latter.
Well, I do believe he found out that the tapes were released, or that he was recorded at her house. I believe he was there when that happened, and he had his freak out. And I think he was calling Kate's mom from his house phone. And if you'll recall, there was even a moment, just to hammer your point home, when Kate's mom called Asa. Someone called Asa and said, "Your son just called me and you have to," and this was like on the air. You heard John say something like, "What?"
Yeah,
they
you're
did what?
totally right.
Oh, okay. So he directly brought her into this case, and then didn't protect her. And if we can recall, it was about over a year that he said the reason for all of this was so he could protect his mother, because Mike Morse and everyone is attacking his mother. It was to protect her.
It was to protect her. That's a really good point.
Was it Kate Meany's mom that called her?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so. That's my recollection of it.
Yeah, after he called Kate Meany's mother to tell her that she is a drug addict and she
a whore
and was going to die. She said she was going to die young, and it was going to be her fault.
Horrendous.
And John thinks he can spread around just parts of this case, not all of it. Not that bit will come out.
No, and also, why would it? And again, that's exactly what Discovery is for. I understand that maybe not all of that is going to be relevant, but I hope that everybody understands in this case. Anything that you are saying or doing that could potentially be relevant could get uncovered in Discovery. Anything. And I hope it does.
And just what you guys were saying before about about him talking about the tapes and getting recorded, and he just saying, "I don't care. I don't care if she taped me. I don't care." And he said on numerous occasions, and he also said, "I knew you were taping me." I mean, this is everything that was put out. And saying it in private is one thing. To a witness, saying it publicly on a podcast where thousands of people are watching it is ridiculous. I don't want to say the other R word because that's what it is, but it's ridiculous to make those statements and then come up with a lawsuit trying to prove otherwise.
Who came up with the lawsuit? I mean, that's, I guess, which came first, the chicken or the egg? I don't know that I want to answer that question right now. It's too philosophical for me at this point in my life. Too philosophical for me. All right, let's move on to our next topic of insanity within this lawsuit, which, of course, is all about how Tabber sometimes needs extensions of time for things. He's had a couple of issues with scheduling throughout this lawsuit. So the first one is going to come to us on September 16th. And this is when he is going to be filing a letter with the court about the love of his life, Natalie. He says, "Judge, I can't do anything because I need to celebrate my 9th year anniversary with Natalie, the love of my life."
And then we're not.
The court doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah, you might be right. This might be. He doesn't.
We don't believe this is a troll. We don't believe that this is
you're
one
right.
big epic troll.
Of course it is. You wouldn't. Yeah. Come on.
Hey,
come on.
Come on.
All right, maybe. There's more to it, though, than that. Because, okay, what this means, if he is celebrating the 9th year anniversary with Natalie, that means that he started dating her 1 year into his jail sentence, I think.
Well, she used to write to him in jail.
Yeah, I imagine that. I would like to get those letters.
It's very romantic.
The tale as old as time. Absolutely.
And where is he going? Paris?
It's going right to the top of the Eiffel Tower.
Give me a fucking break, guys. I'm done.
Hilarious. That's interesting.
Fuck. Damn it. God damn it, Zen.
Well, you know, Aaron Imholtz's lawyer did the exact same thing and meant it. Like, tried to push one of these hearings due to forgetting it was there and having booked a family vacation. And that's when the judge responded by moving it up to 2 weeks.
Yes,
that fuck you for even insinuating that. Yeah, so this is...
That we could delay it.
Any lawyer knows, like, this is a shitty letter to get out of class when you're in high school.
Not only that, but at the time that he sent this letter, the next court date was scheduled for December, and he's asking for a continuance until October. You don't need to ask for that because it's already set in December, which is months after October there, buddy boy. That's not how court documents work. It's not. It's moot. It's entirely moot. There was no reason to file this letter. But Tabber did not stop there. So this letter was filed on September 16th. And then just 4 days later, he's actually going to file a second request for adjournment because he felt like the court didn't take him seriously on this one. Maybe they didn't, and maybe this was the realization that it truly is a troll. So he files a second request for adjournment, and this one makes even less sense because one, again, the next court date is scheduled for December, so why are we requesting adjournments? But secondly, there's no reason for him to need an adjournment. He has already filed all of the documents that he can file. When we have a lawsuit, there are procedural requirements. First, the complaint gets filed. Then if there is a motion filed by the defense, the next step is that the plaintiff has an opportunity to respond to that, and then the defense gets an opportunity to respond to that response. That's the end of that conversation. We no longer get to do a whole bunch of other things. It's not just you get to respond, and then you get to respond, and then you get to respond, and then you get to respond. There's literally no more documents for him to file. So there's no reason for him to need an adjournment because there's no work for him to be doing currently. We're waiting on the courts. But he's so stupid that he doesn't think that his vacation with Natalie, the love of his life, is going to be enough. Instead, he employs the Jewish holidays to be able to request an adjournment. Now, Adam, you and I are Jewish, and I think...
Half Jewish, just my father.
Perhaps. Oh, you lucky, lucky duck.
Oh, you're not even Jewish. Look at that, because your mom's not. Good for you.
Fuck you.
Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, September 30th.
Okay, so What we might notice about these dates is that they are actually the wrong dates for the Jewish holiday. Now, Tabor, I also don't believe is Jewish. Maybe he is, and I just don't know that. I don't believe that he's Jewish. It is very, very common in the New York City courts to employ the Jewish holidays as a reason to be able to push something off to a later date. That is extremely common. This happens in almost every single court case. We go, oh, there's a Jewish holiday on this day. We can't do it. Can you just push it back a little bit longer? It gives people a little bit of an extension of time so that they can look over documents a little bit further. It's not the greatest thing in the world because, again, a lot of the time nobody's actually celebrating those Jewish holidays. But what we have here is Tabor saying to the court, I'm not Jewish. Again, I assume he's not Jewish. Maybe I'm wrong about that. He says, but I would like to use the Jewish holidays as a reason that we need to push this to a later date. Maybe you didn't believe that I was going to be in Europe with the love of my life, Natalie, but you don't ignore these Jewish holidays. So what he says here is that Rosh Hashanah was from September 21st through the 22nd. In actuality, it started on the 22nd and ended on the 24th. Rosh Hashanah, of course, is the Jewish New Year. And so it is that one night. It starts at sundown. It started on sundown of the 22nd. He then says that Yom Kippur was September 30th. In fact, it started on the sundown of October 1st and then went to nightfall of the 2nd. That is the Day of Atonement, which Tabor could probably use some help with here. He did get the date for Sukkot correct, though, but I will tell you this. Sukkot is the least important, probably, of all of the Jewish fucking holidays. It is literally just like, it's the fall harvest time. Let's eat with gourds in the yard.
Yeah.
That's what Sukkot is.
Yeah. That's your Columbus Day. Like, nobody gives a shit.
It's like Breast Cancer Awareness Month. It's a thing you acknowledge, but you don't take off the entirety of it.
Nobody takes off for Sukkot, but he did get the dates correct for that.
Because he was so excited it was a long stretch, he just couldn't believe it.
It was such a long stretch. Now, again, who is pulling the strings on this? So, research that I tried to do here was I tried to figure out how you could get these dates wrong, right? What would make somebody think that all of these holidays are 1 or 2 days off of the Gregorian calendar? Now, the Jewish calendar is different than the Gregorian calendar. That's why all of our holidays fall on different days each year. What is interesting here is that I believe that the reason that somebody got these dates wrong is because they were looking at a 2024 calendar. So in the same way that sometimes Hanukkah happens before Christmas, sometimes it happens after Christmas, sometimes it happens on Christmas. Same thing with Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and Sukkot. I believe that all of these holidays, somebody was looking at a previous year calendar, and that's why all of the dates are wrong. I do think that Tabor is dumb enough to do that. Maybe somebody else did it, though.
Is it just an AI thing? Is it just AI will just randomly fuck shit up?
So I specifically asked...
Those dots are very AI.
I specifically asked both AI and Google, what is a reason that I might have thought that Rosh Hashanah started on September 21st, 2025? And what AI and then separately Google told me is there was a video, like a popular YouTube video that got released on September 21st. And maybe that's the reason that somebody might have thought that it started on the 21st instead of the 22nd, because it was talking about it starting on the 22nd as opposed to, and that was the only reason that I could come up with. The only thing I can come up with is looking at a previous year's calendar.
Sure.
Either way, he's not great at scheduling, I guess, is the point of this.
Well, those are just the dates he needed off and was hoping to get away with it like that.
It does coincide quite nicely with his trip to Europe with Natalie, the love of his life.
Are you implying that religion is not also the love of his life?
Yes.
Okay.
Any practicing Jew, though, would know exactly
when Sukkot is. Yes,
those
of course.
Those days, even Rosh Hashanah. I mean, even if you're just celebrating the hits, like you would go on you would just go on Google and go, when is Rosh Hashanah this year? That's what I do with Easter. I don't know when fucking Easter lands on, but you know what? I go on my calendar on my phone. And sure enough, when I look at the months, the holiday will pop up at some point. So there's it's a troll. It's so trolly. It's making my skin crawl now. It's all these things are starting to come together, right? Into like one big. And then he says, Natalie, the love of my life, no last name. It's just Natalie.
The Eiffel Tower.
Right. It's like when John goes, I'm talking to a cop. You know him. It's like that same kind of dumb way of talking.
Somebody, Rob Smithers, wrote in the chat, I'm on the phone with my lawyer. You know him.
Yeah, you know him?
Yeah. Exactly.
As you know, Your Honor, I'm going to Paris with Natalie.
Yeah.
So I can't.
Oh, he loves her. He loves her. He does.
Yeah. The love of his life. The love of his life. The love of his
Well,
life.
he loves her almost as much as John loved Kate, right?
Oh, so important.
Like a sister. He loved her like a sister. It was really that.
I want to. You're like my daughter. I want to
So
just
thoughtful.
help you.
There's no place for these feelings in court. They're all missing it, or it's a joke. Like there's no place. No one cares who you love or like or don't love. There's no place there.
The court does not care about betrayal, and the court does not care who likes who today. There have been times that I have heard people consider the idea of creating charts of who likes who in the Dabbleverse so that we can all keep it straight, and then they have always given up after one day because they're like, it changes every single day. I can't do it. The court does not care about your butt hurt feelings. I cannot say that enough. I can't say that enough. And it's silly that I have to keep saying it, but also I like saying butt hurt because it's just fun. And I don't know. It's silly. All right, we're going to do some more.
When you get angry like that, you jiggle and it makes the chat very happy. So I just want you to know it'll generate enough happiness that you'll be happy.
See, that's the only thing important is that you are putting out positive utility in the world. That is a beautiful thing to do. As long as you are making the world a better place.
The only part of the show that will definitely be clipped was when Lucy reached over for whatever was there on the right and just stayed there a little too long. Came back. It was the most excitement we had here.
I cannot wait. Oh God, now I feel like I want to do it so I can see what it looked like, but I'll just go watch it later. Oh no. Anyway, let's read some super chats, and then we're going to talk about we only have a couple of topics left to do tonight. Zen and Adam, thank you so much for hanging out with me this whole time to talk about this stuff. And thank you guys so much for hanging out with us for so long. We do have a couple more topics to talk about. We're going to be talking about Slap. We're going to be talking about the grift of the GoFundMe. But again, we are going to hit these super chats first here. So Mr. Bill, we have coming in for $20. Thank you so much. I think I figured it out when this is over. Tabber, Susser, Stuttering John, starring and writing a National Lampoon's LOLsuit vacation. This is movie worthy. This is movie worthy, but they could never do a successful job. We need the talented people of the Dabbleverse on top of this. Somebody start writing a script right goddamn now. Hamilton Burger for $2 Canadian. Thank you so much. Kos is the Lucy Typebox of the legal Econoverse. Thank you. That was a very nice compliment. Thank you. I'm a little shy about that one. Thank you. GMB627, $10. Thank you. He's butthurt because he wants a payday without having to work for it. That could be about literally any of the people that we were talking about today. But yes, I agree. Josh O for $2 Canadian. I wish to wash my Irish wrist watch. I slowed down, but I got there. It was great.
Do you guys think that John was banking on Karl and Shuli to settle on that first run?
Yes.
And they were totally like not prepared for them to go, fuck you, we're not settling.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
John is, Karl says this all the time. John is terrified of lawsuits. And so he thinks that everybody else is terrified of lawsuits. He thinks if he got sued, he would be terrified and he would stop whatever he was doing immediately. Karl and Shuli are not pussy bitches. And they know when they have broken the law and when they have not.
Do you remember that period of time when John, he was like, Vince had that lawsuit against John, and every time the door would ring or there'd be a sound in the house, he would jump. Like, to him, he thinks he's really fucked over Shuli and Karl and that they can't sleep.
They're in trouble.
They're in trouble, and it's official, and it's in writing, and everybody knows, right?
Until their moms find out.
Exactly. He thinks that's how they feel about it, and it's just not.
And I have to be honest, I interact with Karl far more than I interact with Shuli because we're in the band together, because we're in Rochester in the same city. I got to say, I think Karl's never been happier in his entire life. And I see similar feelings in Shuli when I do get to interact with him. I think that I'm sure people are losing sleep because it never feels good to get sued. But I also think that there's a lot of joy and things to celebrate about the wonderful world. We can all be celebrating Sukkot together. We don't have to decide what days we need to celebrate it, right?
Yes,
it's
Sue is the word,
thing.
right?
Producer Chris coming in for $20. Amazing rack of books behind you, Adam. Yo, Zen.
It's a green screen.
Hi, producer.
Hey, producer Chris. What's up?
Oh, that is producer Chris.
Pulp Girl 76 $9.99. Thank you so much. Within the discovery processes, could Stuttering John get in trouble for additional violations? Yes. Have you ever seen this happen before? Yes. Actual federal or criminal charges? Yes.
That SiriusXM case was thrown out with prejudice, and the courts will look at all of these people and go, this guy has a number of lawsuits all about the same thing all over this state that he has lost, and all of these people just work and have families.
Exactly. I was thinking the same thing. And even though he can do this again, right? Like he can sue somebody for the same thing again.
He could sue somebody else. He could sue Adam.
Somebody else,
he could sue you. He could sue me.
So he's suing us the way he sued Sirius. They're still going to look at that and go, what the fuck is going on with this? This is weird.
Yeah.
Not only that, though, I think this question is even more in depth than that, which is saying, in the same way that John might request Karl and Shuli's financial information, Karl and Shuli could request John's text messages with Kate.
Right.
And perhaps within those text messages with Kate, there is something serious. Perhaps John has done things to other people in other ways. And discovery will allow us to find all of that out. And the question of, could that result in charges fully unrelated to right of publicity? Absolutely. If the court decides that they want to prosecute him for whatever drug things he's talking about during those tapes, they could potentially decide that they want to do that. That is not off the table at all. Great question, Pulp Girl.
Right. What about
Reverend...
also who owns? I'm sorry. What about also who owns John's house in Florida? That might come up too. Who holds the mortgage? Who his pensions? How he makes his living? I mean, that's all the other great stuff that might come up.
It might sound minuscule, but they lied about where the couch was. It was not in the trash. It was illegally dumped on the street. All of these things will come up.
The witnesses are attesting to things that they did not see and hear. John is attesting to things that are not accurate. When you are attesting to things like this and a notary public is signing off on that, you are swearing under the penalty of perjury. You are saying, everything I'm saying is legally, everything that I'm saying is accurate to the best of my knowledge. It's not. And John is swearing to that in documents. He could be sanctioned. He could be held in contempt. There are tons of negative things that could potentially happen when you swear under the penalty of perjury. All of those things are entirely possible.
I hope he's watching this.
Listen, bud. That's all I had to say about that. Reverend Rage for $1.99. The tape 2 was a setup. Kate did for Stuttering John money tape buffoon trap. I can't tell what that last emoji is.
Did she get any money for it? Did she get any clout for it? Did she get any...
Nope, she got off the internet and did not get paid. Interesting.
But
Tony
before
Baloney?
she did a show with us and you and Lenny and was on our show, even though Shuli was extorting her and doing bad things to her. She still came on the show and hung out and had a great time. But whatever.
I know, and Lenny liked her better than me.
Well, I think it was location. I don't know.
No, I liked her better than me at that point, too. Come on. Tony Baloney, $1.99. Thank you so much. I agree with Zen. Tabber is not taking this seriously. Not taking this seriously, or I think Zen's new theory is doing some sort of troll.
Or his wife is like a monster who's like, I don't care what the fuck you have, or who's going to jail for what. You're coming with me. We're going to Paris. Like, she's a monster.
Can you imagine the bitch of a wife that you had to, imagine she's like, I don't want to go there for dinner. That's literally the conversation every single day of their lives.
Right.
Maybe we should feel worse for Tabber, actually.
I took an oath. I took a vow. I took an oath. What is it? I don't know. How do you even figure it out?
It's impossible. Pope Girl 76 for $9.99. Do some character witnesses hold less weight with the court? A mother versus a neutral party. I'm not actually sure the answer to that. I don't know how judges make determinations about things like that. But what I will say is that seeing different witnesses all say exactly the same thing certainly holds some value with the court. And by value, I mean negative value. Rumpled Trench Coat, a Columbo podcast for $5. Stuttering John's affidavits. Your Honor, I'd like to call Control V to the stand. Yes, they are literal copy and paste jobs. Absolutely. And much of the information actually within the LOLsuit is copy and paste jobs. At one point, Danny actually says the defendants and the court, because of these copy and paste jobs, are therefore forced to sift through redundant cumulative text. He is telling the court, God damn it, stop wasting my time, stop wasting the court's time. And the courts hate nothing more than their time being wasted. Drunk Engineer for $5. Hey, I just got here. Can you guys go back and start from the top? Sure thing. That'll happen right after I let Adam and Zen go. We'll just start right back over. I've got my buddy Jesse in here. Hi, Jesse. It's nice to see you in here. I'm very excited about that. And we got Raper Butt coming back in for $1.99. Is the judge a Shuli? His name is Cohen, so probably not.
Is Igar's real name Shuli? His real name?
That's a great question. I don't believe so.
Because if it was Shuli and then he changed it to Shuli?
To Shuli.
To be cool? Somebody's going to talk to
It's really
Shuli
weird. I don't know the answer to that question. So when they initially filed the lawsuit, it was just Shuli. And then when they filed the amended complaint, they changed it to the Shauli. They changed it to Shuli, a.k.a. Shauli. The only person that I was ever aware of that was calling Shuli Shauli was Vince the lawyer. Maybe that's just because I'm naive and other people were calling him that. The only person that I've ever seen that was...
When Shuli came here from Israel, his given name was Jewy McSheckelstein.
Nice.
And he was like, let's go with Shuli for now and see how I feel about it. Shauli was a close second.
Yeah. That makes way too much sense, sadly. No, it doesn't. We have Vincent Mbezi here. I don't know if that's the real him or not, but $1.99. Send the link to my email. My dear, I do not have your email, nor am I interested in it. But I don't know. Maybe a different day. You never know. You never know. I did really very much enjoy. I very much enjoyed hearing what you had to say when you called into Bedabbler Network. I thought that it was really informative and interesting. And I would be interested to talk with you. So, okay, perhaps another day, especially because...
I was going to say, did you ever read a Sherlock Holmes novel? And you're pretty much, you have to you're given the clues as you're reading it, but you don't know how to put them in order yet. You don't know what the significance is until usually it wraps it up at the end. Some people might get it faster than other people and solve the case. This is exactly what I feel like this lawsuit is. These legal documents are like just bunches of little Easter eggs and clues that we have to paste and put together and decipher and figure out who's the troll, who's the guy behind this, let's pull that mask off and see who the real criminal is.
I love it. It's the funniest thing in the world to me is spending all of this time and energy and intelligence on something so stupid and so pointless. It just makes me so happy.
It's either incredibly genius or incredibly petty. And I think I like both of those things. I don't like it in this particular case, but both of those things are interesting. That's for sure.
It has that don't fuck with cats quality. Where it's just like,
that is exactly, yes.
Right.
It's important to us.
It's important to us. Absolutely. All right. We are going to take a peek at one of the last crazy things that is happening within this lawsuit. And that, of course, is going to relate to the SLAPP accusations. So SLAPP is an aspect of New York state law that allows defendants who have frivolous lawsuits filed against them to kind of fight back. It allows them to slap right back in the face of the plaintiffs. SLAP is very interesting, and Luigi Greenberg has done a really great job of describing this concept previously, so I won't go into it. I won't belabor it too much, but what I will tell you is that generally what it means is that if you are filing a lawsuit with the sole purpose of silencing people, then you're not allowed to do that because it wastes the court's time and because it's against the First Amendment. And therefore, the defendants in cases like that get the ability to fight back. They are allowed to then say, immediately dismiss this case, get rid of it, and also, I don't want to pay for my attorney's fees. This is a case where SLAP might become applicable. It is a case where SLAP is being brought up. SLAP is very hard to win on, but I actually think that Karl and Shuli have a pretty good chance on it. Again, that is my very humble opinion as a paralegal. It is really rare to see people win on that. If ever there was a chance, probably Karl and Shuli. So why is this a SLAP suit? Well, it started out as a SLAP suit because, again, it seemed like John was kind of trying to silence Karl and Shuli because he was feeling betrayed and he was feeling so sad that everybody was talking about him. But where we really got to see SLAP in action was from Tabber, John's attorney's own hands. And the reason for that is because just a day or so after John tried to increase the amount of money that he was requesting in the lawsuit from $600,000 to $850,000. Just a day or two after that, he filed a letter with the court. Let's take a peek at what this letter says. It says, oh God, I can't read that. It's very teeny tiny. Oh no.
Where do you want to start? The beginning?
Teeny tiny. No, the yellow part.
It says,
oh,
our
you can do
client
the
is
beginning.
Interested. Okay, dear Mr. Savalas, good morning. I hope that you are well. First, I would like to make clear that I hope to have an amicable professional relationship with you on this case. I think it best serves our clients, the court, and the New York State professional legal community. I look forward to working with you on this case amicably, said it twice.
Yep.
And I have respect for you and your firm. Second, I spoke with our client, highlighted. Our client is interested in seeing a resolution of this matter so long as defendants collectively agree to refrain from using his image, likeness, audio, visual, and persona.
So what he is saying here is we will settle if you just agree not to talk about John.
Yeah.
And that is the literal definition of SLAP. That is the reason that this lawsuit was filed was in order to silence somebody. It doesn't get much more damning than this letter right here.
Oh, wow.
What John and his attorney Tabber are saying is, we don't care about the money. The money is not the end game. The end game is for Karl and Shuli to shut the fuck up about John. They cannot do that. That is not okay. And we can all agree that that's not okay. That is against the First Amendment. That is not what we stand for in this country. Not a cool thing to do. And you filed it in a fucking letter. You handed it off on a silver platter on a case where SLAP had already been brought up. To me, if I was a judge and I looked at this, I would never look at this because there's too many damn pieces of paper to actually get to this particular document. But I would see this and I would immediately dismiss this case and I would immediately award Karl and Shuli all of their legal fees and costs. I would. I don't think that it gets much clearer than that. It's that John feels sad that people are making fun of him. That's exactly what this letter is proving. And that is the true idiocy of this lawsuit, is that every single step of the way, they have stepped on rakes. Every single step of the way, they have made horrendous mistakes. They've amended and opposed the amendment and then refiled the opposition to the amendment because they accidentally filed it without the caption. And then they filed it under the wrong motion sequence. And then they got the Jewish holidays wrong. And then they relied on a video that didn't make any sense. And then they were like, oh yeah, no, I knew that I was being recorded. And then their witnesses all said exactly the same thing. And they quoted a YouTube legal commenter and all of these things. Every single thing that they have done again and again and again has been a fucking mistake. And this letter just shows us everything about that.
You know, you asked in the beginning of this episode, you were like, I've never heard John just say, hey, stop picking on me. It hurts. Can you please stop? I mean, he just did. That's it. That's him saying this will all go away if you just agree to stop making fun of me. But unfortunately, that's not how the First Amendment works. And then you're admitting basically that every other page before this is a waste of everyone's time.
I'm trying to coerce him. I'm trying to coerce them into not talking about me. It's not.
I'm weaponizing the legal branch.
Yes, this is lawfare to the highest extent. It's not me going over to you and saying, hey, Adam, you know, I really was hurt by this thing that you did. Can we maybe have a conversation about it? Let's try to come up with a better resolution. This is saying, I'm going to sue you, but I'll stop suing you if you just do everything that I want. Talk about extortion. Yeah. Talk about coercion. Talk about all of these things. This is lawfare. This is fucked up. And that letter says it all. And if I could implore Judge Cohen, the judge presiding over this case, to just look at one document, it would be that one. It would be look at the fact that on the day after the plaintiff raised the amount of money that he was requesting from $600,000 to $850,000. The day after that, he said, you know what? It's okay. All we really care about is just shut the fuck up. You don't get to silence people like that. You don't.
It's like when mobsters come into your store and go, hey, you know, it's a really nice place you got here. It's a real shame if something bad would have happened to it. Doesn't have to. You know, if you give us what we want, we'll make sure you're protected. Everything will be fine. It's also a figurative white flag that they're throwing out there, pretty much subliminally saying, hey, we give up. We're fucked. We know we're fucked. And this is the letter that's going to prove the fact that we have nothing. And we just, you know what, let's forget about everything else. Let's just say, hey, you stop talking about me. We'll make all this go away. Yeah.
And you know what's funny? When it comes up now, anytime John's accused of anything, it's first blood. That's his argument, his only argument. First blood. They drew first blood, so I was retaliating. It's funny how that never comes up here, because that is not a legal argument. Saying they shot at you first doesn't make it okay for you to shoot them now.
Right.
If he took the LSATs, he'd learn that, but he's not going to. And it never comes up here because no one gives a shit. That's not how real life works.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Totally right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You've said it all, man.
Oh, you guys are so sweet right now. Speaking of which, I would love it if you would tell everybody before we are starting to come to a close here, but I would love it. Zen, would you tell everybody a little bit about where people can find you, what exciting things you have coming up?
Sure. At the Zen Comic on Twitter and Instagram. All my dates are going to be there. You can see me regularly on the Shuli network on TSN, and I'll be there tomorrow night at 8:00 doing Uncle Rico, and of course Thursdays. I don't know if you're there, going to be there tomorrow on Thursday, but
heck yeah,
Lucy joins us on Thursdays now, so it's a lot of fun.
Yes, it's wonderful. And Adam, what about you?
WATP every Wednesday right here on YouTube at 5:30 p.m. And I have 2 records out you can get. One is by Jamie Levine called Real Nice Friends. Another is by Ali Gertz. It is a collection of Nine Inch Nails covers. And I have a
awesome
Christmas movie coming out in December you can watch.
Great. If people want to get those records, is the best place to do that just wherever they like to buy their records? Or is
wherever fine records are streamed, you can find them all there. I produce these records. I'm really proud of them. I hope you listen to them.
Wonderful, wonderful.
So on WATP Patreon, you can find them.
Yeah, it's all there for free. If you just want to bypass the middleman, you can just hear it all.
Yeah, if you want to hear it without having to.
Then you're familiar with that, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. The last thing that I do want to talk about that relates to this LOLsuit, of course, is the GoFundMe. So I have already mentioned the GoFundMe for Karl and Shuli already. It is fightthedabbler.com. I highly recommend going over there and checking that out. But there have been a lot of accusations lately by John that the GoFundMe is a grift, that it is not legally okay to do that. I just wanted to point out very quickly that it absolutely is. The entire point of GoFundMe's is to raise money to cover the costs of something that you believe in. So people who are giving to that GoFundMe is because they want to support Karl and Shuli. And I think that that is a wonderful way to spend your money right now. I would very highly recommend going over there and just supporting the heck out of them. You can also support them by visiting the Shuli Network and Who Are These Podcasts. They truly are incredible. And despite the fact that I think that they're probably both very happy right now, it's not easy to get sued, especially by a buffoon. So please go support them. I would really.
Well, a lot of that's got to do with the amazing support of all the people in the chat. Dr. Steve helping us with a GoFundMe. I mean, we're over $34,000 now to help us in our legal aid. So we've had a lot of great support from everybody. So thank you.
Yes,
Can I just
absolutely.
add really fast that this GoFundMe, this was it for John. Like, the case really doesn't even matter anymore. He has always said, the court of public opinion, if people just saw the two sides, no one is going to side with the people who use that kind of language and call people those names. He's certain of it. So when it actually happened in real time and you guys made $30-something thousand and he made $58, that was the court of public opinion, and you lost so terribly. It's over. Everything after this is just pouting in the sandbox and trying to get something from it, because that was it. Everyone decided they prefer this side, and you saw how Dr. Steve feels about it. That's how he feels. Try changing something about yourself, not everyone and everything else around you.
Yes, absolutely. That's incredibly perfectly said. We are going to end with some super chats, which are far less well said than that. I said
They'll
that
be briefer.
great. Also, they'll be briefer. Vincent Mbezi, another $1.99. Send the link to my email. Another $1.99. Kumia keeps begging me to come on. Send the link. I think there are some more of these, so I'm actually going to hit those, and then we'll go back to the other people. Another one, Mbezi, then Atlaw, then ICM. You scared, Zen? You know what, Vince? If that really is you, I would happily have you on a different day. But again, we are closing up tonight. Another one, Kumia sent 12 texts to me. I'm here. Send the link. Again, we will work on that later. Here's another account that is saying, Vince the lawyer, ZZ, you want me to save show or too scared? Got 5 minutes.
Yeah,
no,
we're scared. It'd be too much energy. We just couldn't handle it.
And then we have Zen and Adam. You scared to talk? Send the link. I don't know why I'm not included in that, since I would probably, whatever. It doesn't matter.
He knows how to send you the email. It's a joke. Come on.
Yeah.
This is Vince's version of showing up to Melton's house without Melton being home. This is his version of leaving
You're
Stevie
right.
Tomatoes 5 minutes before we showed up. All right, buddy.
On the plus side, we have Hilton Man over here supporting us for $1.99. Don't send VTL the link. He is a gross.
Only physically. It's just his appearance and.
Well, I don't. There's
not be mean.
some other things that we could have conversations about, but we won't right now. On the plus side, somebody thinks that Zen is not gross because KFT comes in for $1.99. Are you single, Zen? I'm talking to you.
Are you KFT? I'm always single, buddy.
Oh baby,
Hit me
Tony
up.
Baloney. For another $1.99. Yes, I would love to see Adam and VTM debate.
It's just two people not blinking for like 2 hours straight.
I don't even know if I would be able to tell the two of you apart by the end.
Nope.
Rumpled Trench Coda Columbo podcast coming in for another 5. The Adventure of Multiple Flawed Filings by Arthur Conan Zen. I love it. It's beautiful. I would read it for sure. The Tommy Jordan coming in for $2. Adam brings class to the Dabbleverse. I think you're great on WATP. I could not agree more with that.
Thank you, Tommy Jordan. We appreciate your hard work on these front lines.
Yes. J3 for $2. He sent Judge Cohen the wrong Jewish holiday dates. Yes, this is a great point. It is true irony at its finest. We already saw that one. We got Stumbled Drink Jockey for $2. SJ and Co. care now because lies are referential. And then we got Tex Hula coming in for $2. Great show. Warren for Buffy reboot. I know about Buffy, so I of course know that Those are words. Tony Baloney, 199. Fun show, guys. Have a good night. I hope that everybody has a great night tonight. Again, I thank you so much for hanging out with us for such a long time. It has been really, really, truly my honor to be here. And again, Zen and Adam, thank you so much for hanging out for such an incredibly long show. It was great to see both of you. Please make sure to go support Zen at the Zen Comic and at the Shuli Network, and also to support Adam with his records, and also with who are these podcasts on Wednesday nights. And we will close out tonight with Hamilton Burger for $2 Canadian. Sorry, VTL, this episode has a minimum height requirement.